Osmium.
Hello, and welcome to the Saladcast on Saturday, the 10th of January, 2015. I'm your host, Dan Train. Joining me today, Zachary Burgess.
Woo.
And Robert Kemp.
Wait, what year was that again?
2015.
I don't believe you.
Well,
I just don't.
It's a proper year.
It's not. It sounds too clean a number.
maybe
that's
I'm
why
wrong.
It's a proper year. It's divisible by 5, therefore it's a proper year.
Proper year.
Because whenever anyone in the past has ever talked about the future, it's always a year that's divisible by at least 5. No one talks about the distant future of 2112.
In 2117.
Apart from
writing sci-fi, isn't it? It's like it's no.
Well, yeah, sometimes they will just try and mix it up, but a lot of the times it's just like to the nearest 10 or 100.
Well, no one says like we predict that Earth will run out of valuable resources by the year 2462. It's always like we'll run out of resources in about 10 years. Like,
but are you rounding it? Are you sure it's rounded to 5 and not 10? I guess it is because if you think of
it's like
2045.
I think
5
that's
is the
maybe
nearest
that's a
precise number.
Yeah,
'Cause it's like if you want to be slightly more precise than the nearest 10, you go for 5.
Is it something
but
about
any more precise than that, and it's like you can't actually predict stuff that
I
precisely.
guess. Is it something
Right.
about numbers that just end 10T5, you know, sort of like the T5 sounds kind of cool? Or 25.
what about
The year
20x6
55.
from Lone Star Runner? That's a 6.
But that's only because of like all the classic. It's like Super Time Force with the
Well, yeah,
1980X.
yeah, but you put an X at the end when it's alternate history. I mean, Final Fantasy 13-2 does that as well.
I'm sure.
Hmm.
The year X means alternate timeline.
Are we sure it's not just do you think it's a coincidence that Back to the Future came out in 1985 and it was divisible by 5, and they go back to 1955 because that's nice
I'm sure
round?
that's not a coincidence. I'm sure that's because it's like a certain number of years
It's 30.
ahead and behind, right?
Well, yeah, but is it the fact that it was
30 in
5?
both direction, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Like-
exactly. The fact that it was 30 in both directions makes sense, but do you think it's just a coincidence that it was on the 5 when they did it?
Yes, because that's when the film came out as well, wasn't it? They were trying to
Yeah, exactly.
place
So
it
do you
at
think
the year that the film just was made, right?
do you think if it was made in 1984, they would have gone back to 54 and gone forward to 2014, and then it wouldn't go with Zach's nice round number thing?
I reckon they would have.
Yeah.
We're back to 1884.
I don't know. 2014 just sounds too weird.
2014 sounds fine. I don't know. 2015 in my head is a made up number. I don't know.
2014 perfectly normal. 2015.
Yeah.
Oh no,
2015.
can't have that. You'll get used to it. You have a whole year to get used to it, and then you'll be 16. What? That sounds like a computer came up with it. If it's 2016,
This is true.
that's what you'll be
about
saying this time
17,
next year.
17 would be worse.
Or 2048.
Yeah, 2048. That's the ultimate in no. That's a malfunction with the time computer.
Oh shit, we're about to buffer overrun.
Wasn't that supposed to be the joke with that Minecraft, the sequel thing? Not that it's related to Minecraft, but the other Notch project that he abandoned, the spacecraft thing.
Scrolls? Or, the spacecraft thing.
Yeah, where he set the hibernation circuits or whatever, but he got it wrong with the most significant bit or whatever, or the encoding on the number.
Oh, I see. So it never hit the number he requested.
It did hit the number, but in 3 million years or something. I can't remember. But that was the concept. Was it was like an 8-bit number, and it was signed differently from how he was expecting, or something. I don't know. Or it was 2's complement, and he thought it was the other way. I can't remember all the. You did. You actually studied this stuff. I just have no idea.
I only vaguely remember the techniques, not necessarily the names.
Yeah, none of that stuff matters. Anyway, but it does matter if you're a crazy hardware person.
Yeah, to a point. And if you're converting between
Yeah,
like PC and Mac, then like the actual bitwiseness is the other way round.
Oh yeah. Anyway,
I think in many cases.
craziness. So 2015, we made it. We're here. It's a new year of the Saladcast, although not a new season. That doesn't start till...
Not new season yet, no.
April.
I'm open to ideas for the new theme tune, though, because I
like the jazz one.
this time.
It's pretty good, the jazz one.
Yeah, but I have to check. Oh, maybe I'd need a couple. Maybe I'd
just go back to the first one and remix it slightly.
I just heard a brilliant...
Take the original idea and just sort of redo it with when you...
Yeah, with
five years of experience, okay. That's not a bad idea, actually.
Somebody sent me a chillwave version of the Seinfeld theme tune.
Chillwave?
Chillwave, yeah.
Is that not one of the musical projects that Sega hire to do music on Daytona?
It's like a weird throwback genre of it's kind of 80s synthy, but more kind of dream poppy, I guess. That's around.
I have no idea what you just said.
You know what 80s synthy means?
I know 80s synthy.
And you know what
dream poppy?
Actually, dream pop comes from the 80s, so I don't know what I'm talking about. But anyway, yeah, dream pop like the Cocteau Twins or something. You know that weird stuff that my dad used to play in the car that with all the crazy voices and made up language.
Yeah.
Do you remember that weirdness?
Now I understand.
Yeah, listeners, if you haven't listened to it, check out Treasure by Cocteau Twins. It's one of the best albums ever made.
That name again?
Treasure by Cocteau Twins. It's on
Cocteau
Spotify.
Twins.
Yeah, Cocteau.
Cocteau Twins.
It doesn't have a K in it. It's like Cocteau. Yes.
Cocteau. No.
Cocteau.
Cocteau.
I think that's how you pronounce it. Maybe it's pronounced differently.
Cocteau. Yeah, Cocteau. I don't know how else you'd do it. Yeah.
Anyway.
Cocked. Oh.
But yes, it's not like that. But yeah, I'll search for Seinfeld Chillwave and you'll find the hilarious thing. So something like that I thought would be pretty cool.
Is there any slap bass in it?
Well, it incorporates the slap bass, but it's quite, it's mixed in with all the chill wave, so it sounds really weird. It's pretty cool. So how's your January's going? 10 days in.
Fucking tiring is what it is.
Yeah.
I was super tired this morning because there hadn't been any tea in the house for 2 days.
Oh, you suddenly had a caffeine
Yeah, I was totally fucked.
Oh
it's like you don't really
it's the end of civilization as we know it. Yeah. It's like this is the whole focus of Zach's life is computer games and tea, and one of them has run out.
It's like when you drink tea constantly all day, every day, you don't realise how fucked you get when you haven't had any for 2 days. It's like, shit.
Man, you should try coffee withdrawal, man. That is worse than tea withdrawal.
See, I'm sort of still good on that front. I can go without coffee if I want to, because it's just... I'm only like a 1 or 2 a day person.
Yeah, exactly.
I am too, yeah. I don't have it at the weekend, really. Except I am right now.
No, I still do.
But,
I am right now as well. This is my second
because it's
today.
cold.
Well, and the cold doesn't help. The cold makes me drink more coffee, because... I've suddenly... I don't know what's happened to me the last few years. I've turned into the sort of cliched person that suddenly likes having hot drinks when it's cold.
Because you used to hate hot drinks.
I used to hate hot drinks completely. Yeah, because they burnt my mouth.
But you don't want to drink them when they're that hot.
No, but I never... The problem was that they only tasted good when they were warm, to me. But then...
That's true.
But then they got to the point where, but by the time they got cold enough for me to actually be able to drink them, I didn't like them anymore.
You need to put more sugar in that case.
Yeah.
That's how you counteract that effect.
Part of it, I think, was, I hadn't discovered the virtues of sugaring every hot drink that I put in my face.
See, coffee...
Because I didn't used to like hot chocolate either.
Oh, really?
Which sounds crazy. Yeah, I used to wait for it to get cold and then drink the hot chocolate.
But it depends
I used to have that at
bedtime.
bedtime.
Because it's like, if it's the one that uses milk or water, that's they can be quite different.
Yeah, instant hot chocolate is not nice, I don't think.
You can get those ones that are I think of Belgian hot chocolate, which are still granules, but they're I don't know, taste like real chocolate.
But you put them in water, do you, rather than milk?
Milk? No, it's milk based mostly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Water based just doesn't work. Yeah, it has to be milk based.
It's the trouble with that is that milk based is just a whole lot more effort.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
it's better, but it's so much more hassle.
Well, it's not too bad with a microwave. Yeah, microwaves do work for that. Because my dad used to make it on the hob with a milk pan, specially designed pan for milk, and it still can't fucking pour properly, even though it has a lip on it for pouring. It just doesn't fucking work. You ever tried to?
It's still dribble down the side, stick to it, and
it sucks.
Then end up all over the hob.
Yeah.
What happens if milk falls on your hob, do you just end up with like a seared patch of milk? Like,
It's not very nice. You can clean it off, it's fine, but it's just not nice. Whereas microwave is perfectly fine. You put the mug's worth of milk in the microwave and heat it up, and then put the powder in afterwards.
Then
and
your
stir
mug
it in.
gets super hot as well.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, that's a disadvantage. Are you thinking of an intermediate method where you use 2 mugs or something?
Yeah,
and
that's
you
what I
decant
do.
one mug
That's
into
the
the
kind of
other?
lazy, dumb solution that I've come up with.
Genius.
I was actually serious because we didn't have any tea apart from like there was some loose tea, and I was like,
right.
well, I can't be bothered to make a whole kettle's worth of tea for me. Like actually put it in the kettle and brew it and
Do
all
you not have
that.
one of those little
Like a
tea
pot?
strainer things?
Well, we have a tea strainer for when you're pouring it out of the teapot.
You don't have one of those like little, like Gnome has a little.
But not a fully enclosed one.
Yeah, it's like a.
It goes in a
But
mug.
It's like a
Well, actually, I think we-
golf-sized enclosure that you can just open up and put tea in it.
I think we have one of those, but it's not designed for loose tea. It's
Yeah,
designed
okay.
to like help a tea bag.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I think I know what you mean.
So I was like, well, I'm not going to do that. So maybe what I should do is take one mug, put the loose tea in there, pour the water in it, and then use the tea strainer to pour from that first mug into my mug and drain the tea leaves out that way.
Okay. Yeah, some logic there. Yeah.
Do you
But
have a
of course,
special?
that doesn't actually work because my mug is bigger than all other mugs, and therefore I'd never be able to make a full mug's worth.
You just need to buy a specific mug for when this dramatic occasion occurs.
Where do you put the tea bag once you've done with it?
In the tea bag holder bin.
You've got a special bin, right?
Yeah.
And it has like
Oh.
ventilation on it, doesn't it? Your one, like
Well,
it has
yeah.
holes in the top, so that
I
the.
don't think that's necessary, but it does.
Well, my mum seems to think it is.
Is it to dry them out so they just go solid, so they're more pleasant to dispose rather
Not
than
really,
being still
because
squelchy in
because
the
that
contained
doesn't-
environment?
that doesn't work because the bottom is fully sealed, so any extra leftover liquid just ends up congealed in the bottom.
So what's bad
It's
about
like
putting it
the-
straight in the bin? Is my question. Like, what's bad about
you're
that?
putting it in the compost. That's what you're doing. That's why they have this transitional phase. They stay in there until it's full, and then they go in the compost.
Oh, I see.
Oh.
Okay.
I didn't know you could compost tea bags.
It's probably dependent on exactly how your compost works, because I think tea is slightly weird in that respect.
I wonder if presumably that's not stuff you could stick in your garden waste bucket that
I don't know, maybe.
the council pick up.
But what about you, Rob? Do
Compostable, presumably.
you
What
put them
about
on the
me?
side, or where do you put the tea bag?
Oh, I've got that. I've
Yeah,
got
you
that
put
little
dish.
dish, like that tiny
Yeah.
little dish that's shaped like a teapot, and they just stay there because I'm pretty good at getting rid of them, but I don't drink much tea. So when it gets to like 5 tea bags tall and is like about to fall over, and there's nowhere for me to rest my teaspoon after spinning my coffee around, then I like do the honourable thing, curse Gnome, and then put them in the bin.
So, what's the disadvantage of putting them straight in the bin?
I don't know. I do it.
You get more liquid into your bin, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah, but what's
I suppose you
bad
end up with a
about that?
juicy residue at the bottom of the bin that no one likes to clean.
That's
Yeah,
it. Because
it's-
my
it's
mum
like if
doesn't
you-
like the idea of like it like being hot and like having and like evaporating and having condensation on like the lid of the bin or something. I don't understand why you care what's going on in the bin. You're just going
Well,
to chuck it
conversation
out.
on the lid of the bin does
Yeah.
kind of suck.
I suppose every now and then you do have to clean your bin, but that's a
It
rarity.
depends whether you're already using a bin bag at that point or not, and
Well,
whether
you
the bin
always
bag
use a bin
then
bag.
has holes.
Well, yeah, some people don't use bin bags, do they? They just use the plastic.
Yeah, the plastic container part of the bin.
Mm.
That's a bit weird. I'd definitely use a bin bag. Because how else?
Because then you have to do a weird transfer, don't you, to put it in
Yeah.
your wheelie
and you'd
bin?
have to clean the bin every time you use the.
Well, that also depends on what the specific requirements of your wheelie bin are. It's like, does it require individual bags within the bin,
I
or is
think,
it?
yeah, I think most
Nowadays,
require
I think
to-
they all do, don't
Yeah, I
they?
think because it's
All
like
the councils have decided.
because it's a bit of a safety hazard to have loose garbage flying around, and you don't know what could be in it,
Yeah.
especially if it's glass or needles. I don't know.
Don't know what we do with our bin at the moment, now that I think about it, because the council got pissed about us putting... They thought it was ash in our bin, and you're not going to put ash in the bins.
Mm.
But it wasn't ash, it was like vacuum cleaner dust.
Oh, we got one of those. Oh, right, I see.
That must be super
Yeah.
common. Surely you
Yeah.
can tell between that and ash.
You just put it in a bag and they don't care.
Well, yeah. It was
Everyone-
like, regardless
everyone
of
with a
whether it was
Dyson.
ash or dust, it was like, okay, you actually just have to put it in a bag at this point.
Oh, okay. So you have to
just
empty
put
the
it,
Dyson
just
thing.
put it in a bag
into
and they don't care.
But it's like our kitchen bin doesn't usually have a bin bag in it, I don't think, because it's quite a big one. Like, it probably wouldn't actually be big. I don't know. It always seems like it doesn't have a bin bag in it. But then surely they can't pour that directly into our actual bin. I don't think I've ever seen anyone emptying that bin, strangely.
I got a snotty letter the other day through... Right, it was a snotty letter through the mail, I was about to say, but that's a pointless... a pointless...
Got a snotty letter through the window on a brick.
They just threw it through. It can't bloody count. They're
just saying, over it. That's horrible.
Yeah, it's just terrible. But they're basically saying, hey, we found something that can't be recycled in your recycling. And I'm like, okay, for one, the bin men really looked at our recycling that carefully as they got the machine to tip it up. And two, I'm pretty sure that's randoms walking by just going, oh, there's a bin for whatever crap I'm holding at the time.
Yeah, the classic
and shoving it in there, because I'm pretty careful.
Don't fucking leave your bins exposed outside.
Well,
bring them inside your back garden where they'd be safe from random people.
We're all playing in the Galaxy, that's why. We've got all that space in that nice little cubby hole at the front for bins, so we're going to put them there. And it's like, otherwise they have to walk all the way around the house. And
put a padlock on your bin then. Whatever you want to do.
Well, this is I'm pretty sure I've spoke about this before, but this is the shitty thing. Like, my bins are like outside my front door, which is about 10 yards away from the path on the main road, right? The bin men will refuse to pick them up from there. Yet all the other houses on the street, or not all of them on the street, but all of them in our row, their bins are out in the back in the car park where I park and stuff like that. But the bin men will happily go and get those, despite the fact that you couldn't get a bin lorry in there. They have to walk to those things and back. But yet they won't get them from the few yards from outside my house, where it's clearly fucking visible. Fuck bin men.
Hey.
They do a good service.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a horrible job. But man, what the fuck is... No, but seriously, be consistent.
Fuck the specific bin men that serve your part of the street. Or, sorry, your area of Ipswich.
Well, yeah. If you're going to pick those
it's not like
up,
fuck bin men the world
if the same
over.
bin men are going to pick those up on their route, then pick fucking mine up from where it is.
Well, I think in your case, stopping a bin lorry in the middle of the street would actually be more inconvenient than stopping a bin lorry next to the...
It's still in the middle of the street. But
that street has two different ways you can get around it.
Not when it's filled with cars. Not when it's filled with cars.
Yeah, because you can go either way around the square.
You can, but there's only enough room for one car around each road in the mornings when they're filled with parked cars.
Yeah, so the bin lorry's still going to block it in either case.
Yeah, it does.
On this road,
but then it's still blocking.
Yeah, but they're only blocking one of the two routes back there.
It's still blocking.
In the front, they're blocking the whole road.
Yeah, but then what happens is the traffic just gets gummed up because the cars trying to turn down one route then get stuck in the junction, so cars coming the other way can't get past anyway. The whole thing gets stuck.
That's just because people don't look ahead far enough to see that the road...
This is true.
road is obscured.
And, people shouldn't use my road as a rat run.
Well,
But, yeah, you're not... I get your sentiment, but it's bullshit.
Where do the bins go for the houses on the opposite side of the road?
I don't know.
Well, if you don't see them out the front, then they must be in the back.
Some of them are out the front, some of them, but not all of them. Like the guys down the little cubbyhole roads.
Well, yeah.
They don't come out. They go and have to go and get them. But they go and get them!
Oh man, this is riveting.
Inconsistency is a bitch. Should we talk about video games?
Can do. I went to see Birdman this afternoon. Have you seen that?
That's not a video game.
Does he know video? My Mexican friend.
I recommend you watch that if you get a chance. It was really
good.
I
kind of do. Well, there's a lot of films I've wanted to see, but unfortunately, those Unlimited cards slipped, so it's...
Oh, is it gone now?
Well, yeah, temporarily. But so that's kind of put us off going to see things because then we don't actually pay.
What happened?
They couldn't get the money out of her account 1 month, and that means they stopped it.
Yeah, fair enough.
And so, yeah, that's like she got a letter going, what? Those bastards!
Yeah, that's kind of annoying.
So we've just not gone. So I still haven't seen Hobbitses, and there's a couple of other films I wanted to see as well.
Yeah, did we talk about this? I watched The Hobbit. Did we talk about this in the Game of the Year? No, we wouldn't have had time.
No. We just skipped straight to
So I saw The Hobbit, and I had really low expectations, so I quite enjoyed it. But my brother, I think, is into those films. which I'm not. I'm into Lord of the Rings films. Obviously, we've talked at length about how I like the second one and you hate it, and you like the third one and I'm like, meh.
I reckon I've now grown
now
up.
we're going to talk about it again, apparently.
Yeah.
I reckon now I've grown up a bit. I might like the second film now, is all I want to say. Like,
Sure.
I don't know. I'm a bit more tolerant than I used to be.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
10 years ago.
Not any less likely to fall asleep, though.
No. It's worth a try. It's worth. Maybe I just, like, goof myself up on coffee and then...
But I found the Hobbit films really boring so far. But this one, I mean, it was mostly just one massive battle. But, you know, it was all right. I quite enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I mean, it wasn't a patch on Lord of the Rings films, but, you know, as the Hobbit films go, it was shorter than the other ones, which I appreciated.
Yeah. Plot's a little thin on the ground, isn't it? On the
yeah, but, like, I went back and looked at, like Wikipedia to see if the stuff that's in the film is actually in the Hobbit, and it mostly kind of is. I mean, they kind of expanded
a lot of it, so there's more dialogue and there's more.
Yeah.
Well, and that love story wasn't there before, was it?
No, that's not in
the elf and the dwarf.
And the dwarf, yeah.
God damn it.
Yeah. But yeah.
The whole time you're saying this is really dumb. This is so dumb.
It's dumb. So dumb. Yeah.
But I did kind of enjoy it. Not that I can really remember a lot about them now, is the problem. I can sort of remember certain sequences.
Number one
but I can't
is
remember what the plot
mostly
really
like
is.
Singing. There's a lot of singing in number one.
And washing up.
Number two was like a weird fairground ride where they go down rapids and stuff. So it was mostly
I remember that bit.
And number three is Big Battle.
As I say, I remember sequences and events and stuff, and you know that there was a dragon, and that they're trying to get back to the mountain to claim it as their own.
Well, they weirdly split. I mean, it should have been 2 films, not 3. So they ended the second one in the middle of the dragon stuff, and then they pick it up at the start.
He's about to burninate everything, isn't he?
Exactly.
At the end of
So that all happens as like all the dragon stuff is done at the start of 3. They've got to like wrap up the dragon stuff and then do the battle. So it's a bit weird. So they've split the dragon stuff between those 2 films. But you know, whatever. I
guess that they probably just had to make a call, didn't they? It's like you can only do so much within the space.
So. But Stephen was like, well, they should have given the previous film an ending, which they didn't. But I'm like, well, no. Don't mind.
I don't know. That's kind of standard, isn't it? With trilogy setup, the first film is a little more self-contained than the others. Sort of works on its own. And then the second film is basically just pure setup for the last.
Yeah, I mean that's how all trilogies work. I mean that worked great for Star Wars. I thought it didn't really work for the Matrix.
No,
although it doesn't matter with the Matrix because you could just pretend there's one film in the Matrix trilogy and you're sorted.
Well, sure.
That what it's
you have to watch the Matrix just for the sequences, really.
Well, the second film almost had an ending, apart from they suddenly skipped to a new thing. It was like, you had the whole, like, getting to the architect thing, and that was fine, but then they were like, well, now he has to go back to the Matrix, so I guess we have to carry on.
Yeah, right.
Well, kind of. And they never resolved the external story, I suppose, at that point either. Right, it was
but you barely knew there was an external story at that point.
Yeah, I guess you're right. You just don't ever think about the Matrix. That's the trick. Like, as soon as you start thinking about it, the whole thing is dumb, like beyond dumb.
I reckon you can think about, if you imagine it's just the first film, you can think about it. If you start going to the second film, then
even then you can't, because the whole idea of using people as batteries is dumb.
Yeah,
like, why don't they just do what the humans do and use fucking geothermal power?
Yeah, admittedly, that is dumb. That makes no sense. But that never.
And it's the whole crux of the existence of that world.
Yeah, it is. But it's just that's a grand tradition in sci-fi of having some one conceit that doesn't make sense. That that you just spring everything from or whatever.
They just should have it's almost equally dumb, but they just should have made it for some reason that the robots need to eat humans. Like, it's an actual foodstuff that they grow in literal fields. Yeah. But then that doesn't explain why you have to grow them up.
Yeah. If you
can make them as babies, why not just eat them at that point?
Well, no, you want to grow them up to the point where there's enough meat on them, right?
Yeah, but that's not really how this system works.
So you get them to 16 and then you kill them. And then...
The only reason that you do that with cows is because you're converting grass into more cow over time. Whereas in this universe, there's no sunlight, so there's no no plants, so there's no like actual food tree involved in this process.
I tell you what, could have maybe worked, although it doesn't make sense. But I'm just trying to think what humans have that other animals or anything else on the planet doesn't have. I'm just thinking maybe they could like hook everyone together and use their brains for computation.
As a literal computer. That would probably be kind of confusing, though.
Well,
maybe.
Maybe that's secretly what they'd never talk about, but maybe that's what the Matrix is really doing.
Yeah, maybe the Matrix is powered by the brains of the humans. It's calculated. The simulation is run on the brains of the people in the tanks, maybe.
I know, that seems a bit recursive.
Yeah.
In terms of, like, actual processing power required to simulate the whole world. Conveniently requires the exact number of people in the world.
I guess, yeah.
Anyway,
but then it's like cloud computing. If one person fails, then you just move the processing elsewhere.
Yeah, but then if all the processing time was being spent creating the world, then they wouldn't actually have any reason to do it.
Yeah,
so there has to be another calculation happening as well.
Well, no, it's because the whole reason for that was to keep the humans.
Yeah, but then why are they doing that?
Contained, weren't they, to keep them sort of actually
might as well kill them all, though, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. If there's no external benefit, if we're disregarding the idea that they're creating power, and the only reason to have them is for a computational purpose.
Yeah, but the idea was to the human brain had to be occupied and satisfied with being occupied, supposedly. Otherwise, they would break out, or they wouldn't be able to control them, or in some way. I can't remember the detail there, but that was the whole point in the Matrix itself existing.
Yeah, but it's like
to keep people docile.
Yeah. If you're using them as a computer, then that's a very much more like vague idea.
Yeah.
Even though power isn't a particularly unvague idea.
Yeah. I think it's kind of
computing
interesting.
Is a cool idea. Yeah.
Because I think
it's more than power anyway. Power's dumb because they still have to try and feed those fuckers, and it's like if you're feeding those fuckers with them, can't you just do something with the energy and whatever food you've created to give them? I don't know. So or is it just like a failing in the machine's ability to convert from whatever food stuff they're feeding people to?
Well, they're feeding people other people, aren't they? So it's not.
Sort
I mean, they've got to presumably inject some more at some point, or otherwise the population would be exactly stable. I guess
surely it must just deplete.
Yeah,
eventually.
It would deplete
and
over time.
This whole human battery thing is just a stopgap or something. Like
because they must be putting more energy into the system somewhere, even though the whole point of the system is to make energy, which doesn't make any sense.
Maybe it's not really a battery. Maybe they do use geothermal power like the humans, but they're using it as a giant capacitor or something.
Well, they said that they have a form of fusion, which is why this whole thing
combined
makes
with a form of fusion.
Fusion would be way more powerful than anything else.
It's just a big hand wave excuse for having the Matrix. That's all that it is, isn't it?
Yeah.
I love that. It's like you have like 2 seconds of dialogue from Lawrence Fishburne going combined with a form of fusion, just to like that dialogue is only there because they know. Yeah, they know that
no one really understands fusion.
Yeah,
this will do.
Yeah, but like, I don't know. I quite like that because it's kind of a cool idea. I'm just thinking that like no matter how good Moore's law is or whatever, and no matter how like clever the robots get or whatever, and at improving their circuits or whatever, aside from quantum computing, it's kind of a cool idea that they can't get as powerful as like just nicking a human brain and reprogramming it and using that.
Yeah, or they could have just made all the robots like cyborgs, so they need human parts in order to continue their race.
Yeah,
like they literally have to harvest human body parts.
That's like Borg, though, isn't it?
Yeah, that's like Borg. That's like the Strog from Quake. That kind of.
Anyway, alternative Matrix universe that makes slightly more sense aside.
Yeah.
This is a podcast about video games, and we've probably got no news.
There's a tiny amount of news.
Even though it's been like 6 weeks.
Well, yeah, because there's stuff we didn't really cover that happened over the Crimbo period. Like, I guess the single biggest bit of news was the DDoS stuff hitting both Microsoft and Sony again.
Oh, yeah.
I guess the Sony hacking?
The Sony hacking and all that stuff that's all sort of related. Lizard Squad, basically. Lizard Squad.
Supposedly.
Whoever the fuck Lizard Squad are.
Oh.
What lizard do they use? Like, is it like a gecko or is it iguana?
They do have a cartoon
logo,
right? They usually do, don't they? It's not the Nullsec is the best logo, of course, don't they? Or Lolsec, is it? Or is it Nullsec? I can't remember.
I think there's one or other. Both exist, don't they?
Right, yeah, whatever.
Lol's definitely does. I think Nullsec exists. I've always just quite liked Anonymous, you know. There's something about that Guy Fawkes.
Well, yeah, but that's why that works.
Yeah.
They got away with it. Like they conveniently created themselves a useful thing right from the beginning by accident. It was like, oh,
are they dead? Because
no,
I heard a lot from them for.
Anonymous can't die
for a while. Yeah,
I literally
just
saw a
random
news story
people
the
on-
other week.
Anonymous is just people on Chan boards, isn't it? It's
Well,
not
yeah.
like it's not like a proper group, really. It's just like
I
very
saw a news
loosely
story
affiliated.
pretty much literally the other day that was like, Anonymous are going to hack ISIS because fuck them. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay.
Wait, how can you? Wait, ISIS have a network?
Well, they want to
Like-
take down terrorist-related websites or
just
whatever,
jihadist
Well,
websites.
which probably would be very difficult.
Presumably, yeah, they could find and remove anywhere that they've posted their videos to.
Yeah, that would be a very difficult DDoS considering what kind of shit servers those probably are on.
Yeah, and that sounds like a very justified
Well,
Thing
that's
to
what
do.
Anonymous tries to do sometimes when they can be bothered.
when
Yeah,
they
when
can
they
be
can be
bothered.
asked. Yeah.
Whether
Yeah.
that actually happens or not remains to be seen. I'm surprised the news picked up on it that quickly, like before it actually happened, in other words.
Yeah. So the other thing about all this, other than the Sony hacking thing and whatever they got out of that, supposedly they nicked the script for the Bond film. Ooh.
Whatever.
Um,
It's not as bad as
Yeah.
nicking Quentin Tarantino's script or whatever that Gawker did, didn't they? Anyway, never mind.
can't remember. Well, the thing is, the biggest bit of the DDoS happened on Christmas Day, which meant that poor little privileged kids getting an Xbox One for Christmas couldn't set up their Xbox because it had no servers to connect to,
Yep.
and it's
That's
man.
kind of sucky.
There was this quote really wound me up because there was one interview with one kid who was like, "It's the worst Christmas ever," and I'm like, "Shut the fuck up."
Probably is the worst Christmas ever for
Yeah.
that kid.
If it's the worst Christmas that kid has ever had, but like in the history of all Christmases ever.
Yeah, but you can't disregard that just because it's like, kid, you have been alive for the entirety of human history. You don't know what a bad Christmas is.
But I bet he still had a pretty good Christmas, right? Like, it would have still had like decent meal and
Yes, but
good times
that's what we're
and-
saying. It's like it's subjective to that kid. That
Yeah.
probably was the worst Christmas that kid ever experienced.
it's a stupid thing to say. But I don't know, kids are stupid. So
It's 10
No, I
years
shouldn't.
since
I
the
know
Christmas where there was a massive tsunami and loads of people died, isn't it?
it's a pretty bad Christmas.
Yeah, that was a bad
Also,
one.
not anything related to that kid, though.
No,
That's true. It probably wasn't.
it's like, yeah, this is the worst Christmas ever, and I've survived tidal waves. I survived an ISIS terror attack, but this is worse. Fuck you, Microsoft. God. Sony are the only people to sort of turn around and say, "Hey guys," and we know we caused people problems and have somehow reimbursed them. I can't remember how exactly. I think they gave for the amount of time that the DDoS was on, which was about 3 days or something. They've just given people 3 days of extension to their Plus accounts and something else.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the something else was, but good on Sony for carrying on their tradition since the first time they had their big outage of being, whenever we have an outage, we're going to do something about it. Microsoft ain't done shit. But, fair play.
So,
Sony.
did this affect you? Could you place it on Christmas?
I mean, I think it's for people that needed to create accounts and stuff that it was a problem. So for me, it's all right because my Xbox works okay offline.
Right, so
Yeah.
it didn't affect.
And,
normal
I
servers. Okay.
actually didn't really get a chance to do anything around those few days anyway. So I don't think my Xbox went on. So, I didn't experience any problem at all. Top tip. Using a DDoS that requires the internet, do stuff that doesn't need the internet. Oh, that's that. Oh, yeah, you got anything? What else happened in the Sony hacking anyway? What did they nick? Or what was the?
All kinds of crap, really.
That Bond
I
film
heard
is
they got a lot,
so
but-
dumb that it's called Spectre, right? Because they managed to get the rights back to the Spectre part of things, which apparently they didn't have or something.
Weird.
The Spectre part of the Bond. So maybe the books that had Spectre in. Do you know what Spectre is from the old Bond films?
Not a great deal.
It's the stupid evil organization, that's headed by the Dr. Evil character, Ernst Blofeld, right? So,
right, okay, yeah.
and it stands for something stupid it's special executive for crime, terrorism, revenge, and extortion, or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. It's pretty dumb. But it's like one of the stars
Special
is
people enthusiastic to rule everything.
Everything. Yeah. That's pretty much it. And they've got Christoph Waltz as well as part of the cast, and everyone's like,
I missed C. Fuck.
Is he going to play?
That was so good apart from the C. It's Peter.
Damn it. But it's like, he's going to play Blofeld, isn't he? And they're like, maybe not. It's ridiculous. Why did they do that? It's the same with Benedict Cumberbatch in the Star Trek film. He's going to be Khan, isn't he? No, I'm not saying he was bad. It's just that beforehand they were saying, he's going to be Khan, isn't he? And they were like, maybe not.
We can't tell.
It's
No comment.
It's clearly going to be Khan.
He's going to play Sherlock Holmes in the holodeck. Fuck you.
That would be really funny if that was true.
It's not like they haven't had Sherlock Holmes on the holodeck before.
No, exactly. It would make perfect sense.
That would be really funny if that was true. They get Martin Freeman in just to fill out.
He was quite good in The Hobbit. Anyway.
Yeah, he's a strange actor, really, isn't he, Freeman?
I really liked him in the. Did you see the TV series of Fargo that was on last year?
No, I did not. A lot of people have said he's amazing in that.
Well, that whole thing was really good. It's quite scary in places, and it's very funny as well. It's good.
Yeah, it's a hard one to judge, isn't it? Because the characters he picks or he gets typecast to play, I guess, are all sort of similar.
Yeah,
in
this
some
one's
ways.
different, I suppose. The one in
The
Fargo.
Fargo one sounds it, yeah.
Oh yeah, you betcha.
He's sort of weird in the sense that he doesn't stand out, but maybe you need actors like that, you know? I don't know.
Yeah, he's quite
So,
understated.
the World of Warcraft creator has been arguing that esports should be in the Olympics. I only picked that one out because it's dumb!
You just need... Why not just make the E-Olympics?
Yeah.
That would solve the whole problem.
The E-Olympics.
Yeah, exactly.
I think they should reduce the number of sports in the Olympics. Isn't golf in the Olympics?
They don't increase, really.
No, they
takes them out and puts them in.
They definitely got a cap. Yeah, they can't add different sports without taking something else out.
Right. So they shuffle some of the ridiculous ones and like beach volleyball and golf.
Yeah.
They shuffle them around.
Last time they
Golf's not in it anymore, is it?
No.
I
don't think was golf ever in it.
It was at one point, yeah.
Not for very long, presumably. But it's just like
it's like tennis. I don't think tennis should be there because it's against the ethos of what the Olympics is.
I think Olympic football is quite weird.
Yeah, that's really weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, at least in that case, they stick by the no professionals rule.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that makes more sense.
And again, the whole sort of idea of just the way the concept of professionals works is a strange thing to try and judge anyway, because it's like, do you still count the best, I don't know, track and field athletes as being amateurs?
Yeah, like Usain Bolt.
I suppose they're not. I suppose they're not. Well, they sort of are sponsored, but not while they're doing their event. But they kind of are because they would wear their kit, wouldn't they, like Nike trainers or something?
But everyone has to wear shoes at some point.
Yeah,
I
know, but it's like there is sponsorship involved, and it's like it's hard to know what the difference is, I guess. I don't understand what the difference is.
I mean, that was the big problem with Olympic basketball for ages, wasn't it? Because of the whole NBA system
and boxing. Boxing has that problem, doesn't it, technically? Because there's, people get really good doing amateur boxing or something, and then they go pro, and then they can't be in the Olympics anymore. I'm not 100% sure I understand what the line is.
Obviously, E-Olympics. The trouble with that is, then you'd need to come up with some more esports. It's like there's basically only two. It's like
does poker count?
The Dota division and the first-person shooter division.
Yeah,
and that's it. I guess StarCraft counts as a third one.
There's quite a few different FPSs, I guess. And StarCraft would be on there.
That's like it, though.
You could have Dota and League of Legends, two different sports.
You can't have two different. Well,
TF2 League. Come on,
you can't have too many of the same thing. That's the trouble. and there's a lot of the same thing.
What do you consider that? Well, I suppose you'd have to have a Call of Duty league, which would be different from Counter-Strike at least.
I don't know. That's getting a bit close.
Well, Counter-Strike's quite a different game.
Yeah, but they look pretty much the same.
It's true. Although to an outside observer, they might say every game looks a bit different. Hearthstone or Hearthstone.
I don't think you could do Hearthstone because there's too much luck. It's not a game of skill.
It sort of is, isn't it?
But it sort of is, but it's like there's luck.
Like any CCG. I suppose it's like poker in that regard, but poker got big at one point.
Yeah, poker. Poker isn't the sport. That's the thing.
It's the classic problem of boiling stuff down into what actually could be sporty, and entertaining to watch.
They have Olympic
It's not got such a ridiculous complexity. Again, I think at one point, but it's not anymore.
Yeah, I think they tried to do it at one point.
I don't think they should bother. They should reduce the number of sports in Olympics, in my opinion.
Tell you what should be another e-sport for the E-Olympics?
Towerfall.
Cluster ball. Because that's what that was. Yeah. That was actually an e-sport before esports were even remotely possible as a thing.
They were trying to do that, yeah. Which is somewhat commendable in a weird way.
Didn't work when it was
No. Yeah, like they should do. Is it mini sports? The coined phrase is it for games like Towerfall and Samurai Gun, and any kind of fighter will work because fighters.
Well, yeah, any fighting game. I guess that works for the E-Olympics.
Yeah, Evo's a popular thing, but you could probably pull it off. But I don't think this guy is quite right. The Olympics is a physical thing, essentially, isn't it? Even fucking curling, I think, is a physical thing because it requires physical skill. Whereas, I'm not saying that gaming doesn't, but it's a different thing. It's just a different thing.
If they start training all their like esports teams in VR with omnidirectional treadmills, then yes, you can have it in the Olympics.
I guess, yeah. if someone ever figures that out.
It requires actual physical movement.
Yeah. But then again, I guess it's weird when you put it like, say, like the weird pistol shooting stuff, which is like just standing still and aiming at a static target.
But that's standing incredibly still, though. Yeah. That's the important thing about that.
It's
actually really difficult to do because you have to stay incredibly precisely still.
Yeah, it's not like you just line your mouse up on a thing and when you've got it lined up, you push a button. No. But sports like that, I think, are where people start to think, maybe they are the ones that shouldn't be here. I don't know.
Well, yeah.
But then again, if you take pistol out, does that mean you have to take archery out as well?
Maybe not, because archery is more of a physical thing. Actually pulling the bow back sufficiently to shoot an arrow is not exactly easy.
But it's similar in a way, I guess. It's all about like holding your balance and your technique, which is most of gymnastics in a weird way. It's hard. Don't get me wrong, but I think they should be separate. I totally want it to exist, though. It'd be awesome.
What, a separate esports Olympic
an Olympics
thing?
Yeah,
that'd be quite fun.
I guess, though, given the effort it takes to run something like the International, maybe getting it on organising anything on an appropriate scale must be really difficult. Or for events to be quick enough, or.
Well, the main problem with esports, in comparison to the Olympics, is there's a much higher percentage of team sports, so you've just inherently got more people to deal with.
Yeah. Yeah, totally want it to happen. Towerfall tournaments would be amazing.
Well, that's news.
Speaking sports,
guess what's next?
EA are being sued about NFL stuff again.
Okay.
After all that shit a few years back with the NCAA college football thing,
right,
where they were using the likenesses of college football players without written permission of the football players.
That wasn't really necessarily EA's fault, though, because that was like the league had said, yeah, you can use them without actually checking.
And then the league, the NFL had said, yeah, go ahead. But the players then turned around and went, no, you can't fucking do that. And the same thing is happening again, pretty much, in that EA is using the likenesses of retired NFL players, which don't necessarily fall under the licensing agreement of the NFL anymore.
Okay.
And they're turning around and saying, wait, why are we not getting anything for this? You're using my face in a game. And it's like that EA are claiming think it's First Amendment, freedom of speech stuff, because, there's nothing against people doing or referencing people or pretending to be people in films and stuff. So it's like, well, why can't we do this? It's not like you're in the game. It's like we're...
Could you have just changed their name by like one letter to make it a hilarious off name and be like, oh, it's not actually him. It's just a guy who looks like him and has a weird name.
Do what Pro Evolution Soccer do, or
Nigel Maidsail.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Supercars, yeah. And send up.
And send up.
Yeah, so that's happening again. I reckon EA will lose because they lost the last time. The only other thing I noted in recent news, because it's dumb, is that Microsoft are probably bringing avatars back. Like, they never really went away, but they're not really a part of the new ecosystem. Yeah. They're only really used to make your gamer picture in new Xbox
in the new
land.
one. But they're coming back as in 3D and everything.
Yeah, because they're hiring or something. They're hiring guys to work on.
Because they were made by Rare originally, weren't they?
Yes. Yeah.
But it won't be Rare doing it, will it? The revamp? Or
I guess not, no.
Or maybe it will. I mean...
they haven't really said, I don't think.
Rare don't do anything anyway, so, might as well.
They made Kinect Sports this year.
Right.
Last year.
Bro.
And it was a bad version of Kinect Sports, even though it looked like it was going to work better.
Yeah, because there was some cool stuff, don't get me wrong. The character builder is pretty awesome.
Yep.
And actually, I thought the jet ski controls kind of worked all right. I thought it was a good start, but apparently the rest of it was kind of bullshit. And there wasn't enough jet skiing.
Naturally.
Pretty much that one course. So yeah, that's all I got.
So the avatars... I heard that it might be like they might use them. I think what happened was there was a meeting or something, and I think they're going to use it across like Microsoft products. So they're going to take. They were like, well, we need some kind of avatar type thing for like a presence across our OSs between like Xbox and
really?
Windows
What, they want to
and
put it
phone.
in
And there's one guy from the Xbox division is like, oh, we got these avatar things that we're not really using. But
tell us more about these.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you know that Nintendo Wii you've got? Do you remember how much fun you had making your face on that?
Not really. How much fun you had making Hitler's face on that?
Well, yeah.
So we might potentially see the revamped avatars not just on the Xbox, but also on sort of, Windows and shit.
That's interesting.
Well, I always kind of like them.
There's nothing wrong with the avatars. It's like they didn't use them well enough, or at least Microsoft don't have enough of a thing about them in the same way that Nintendo do. Because Nintendo's for a while they were in everything, and they were in everything kind of well.
Well, yeah, but that's because Nintendo knew how to do it. Whereas when Microsoft allowed anyone to use the avatars in the actual game, it was always terrible.
Well, I'm trying to think what they were in. It was in Kinect Adventure. Well, once Kinect became a thing, then it became more viable.
Yeah, it made sense to have your avatar represent your actual body.
Yeah. Like, Kinect Adventures they were in. I think they were in.
But it's also because in
Sports.
Maybe Nintendo just has like a better sort of kit or whatever that they give to third parties when they use them. Because like whenever Microsoft gave it to anyone else,
an asset problem, doesn't it? Right? Like in a way, because they could just use avatars rather than making assets.
Yeah, but every time they gave the avatars to someone else to use, it was always a horrible mess. It's like you don't know how to use them.
I guess, yeah, like all the indie games that started cropping up, like on indie games where they were just like, let's just use avatars. Everything is an avatar something.
Yeah.
And that didn't help the image of them, I don't think. You're right, anything official that used them was fine.
Your cat has decided to sit on me.
Well, yeah, just that theory about cats liking who don't like cats.
It's never happened before.
That's true.
I've had a cat for years.
Yeah, exactly. It's not that I don't like cats, it's that my physical body doesn't like cats. So anyway, I've got 2 bits of news.
Have you?
Okay.
2 bits of skanky news.
Pipe up with the skank.
Get hype.
I guess we probably didn't talk about it, although if we did, I don't remember. But Telltale is making a Minecraft game with a story.
Yeah, I heard this.
which weirdly is not going to be anything to do with the actual as much story as there is in Minecraft, like the story of Steve, the Minecraft guy, as he fights through the Nether and the End and all that stuff. It's not going to be that. It's going to be a completely different story with new characters.
How the hell is this going to work? Like, are they going to be using the Minecraft engine in some way to or is it going to be?
Who knows?
It's a weird thing.
I don't think they will. Sadly, it probably would be good if they did, but I don't think they will use the Minecraft engine.
No, and I reckon it'll be. I think they'll pitch it at kids.
Well, yeah, I think that's the market of Minecraft, really, isn't it?
I guess, yeah.
But if they do they get why kids like Minecraft? It's nothing to do with the story.
Well, there's something in.
There is no story. They're like they've seen an opening. It's like there's no story, so we can just make whatever story we want, and we can make it as much for kids as we want, but assuming we know how to make a story for kids.
I mean, is it getting to the point where like the creep, like the animals and the creeper and all that stuff, they're becoming sort of recognizable?
Yeah, but you can't really use them in a story, can you? Unless you're like, oh, it's a friendly creeper that can talk for some reason.
It doesn't immediately explode and destroy half your farmhouse or whatever.
Do you reckon this is a Microsoft idea since they picked up Minecraft? This is something some Microsoft exec somewhere was just like, fuck it, yeah, let's sell out, let's do an Angry Birds on this.
Well, whose else idea was it going to be? It wasn't going to be Mojang's idea, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Man, I went...
if it was Telltale's, then that would be interesting. If Telltale came to them and said, "We want some of this Minecraft pie,"
yeah, maybe.
Me and Naomi were in Stratford, whatever it was at Christmas. What's it called? The Westfield, the big shopping centre,
Westfield.
And there was like a giant Minecraft stand full of Microsoft people and Xboxes.
Oh yeah,
and kids
she
playing
told me
Minecraft.
about that.
Yeah. It's like, yeah. Microsoft.
There's the market now. Although then again at EGX they had a big old Minecraft booth, didn't they? And they said they were running stupid games and events all within Minecraft. But it wasn't really a booth per se. I think it was just like it wasn't run by Minecraft. I don't think. I think some guys had just set it all up. But
run by Minecraft.
Yeah,
the mysterious entity of Minecraft.
Yeah.
Minecraft computers have become so advanced they've turned into an AI and have started producing events in the real world.
Are they going to be a Minecraft film or something? Is that in the works?
Yeah, that's happening as well. I'm pretty sure that's happening.
The Warcraft film is this year, isn't it? World of Warcraft film. Because I saw a poster in the cinema.
I mean, come on.
Well, in theory, so is that Heavenly Sword film, which is admittedly straight to Blu-ray, and that Ratchet and Clank film. It's supposedly all happening this year as well. Because what you did, Sony.
So that was that news, and then the only other bit of news was the Internet Archive uploaded a shit ton of DOS ROMs.
Oh yeah,
ROMs.
Oh,
DOS game programs.
Yeah, like 1800 or something.
And they run in the browser, right? They've got an emulator.
They run really fucking badly in the browser, but they run in the browser.
I've tried some of that stuff before with like some of the arcade game stuff they've done. It's ambitious, but they don't pull it off quite yet.
The thing is,
like most of them don't have sound.
Is this ASM.js
they
thing?
do now.
Or do you need a plugin for your browser? Or
no, it just runs.
Basically,
it must be that ASM.js.
It appears to be some kind of web-based version of DOSBox because it has the DOSBox logo when you boot it up. So it's like for a split second when they finish loading, you'll see like the DOSBox prompt where it will show like that weird blue box where it says press Control F11 to increase frame skip or whatever it says in that box. And you, I'm pretty sure that you can still use those commands because I was like, well, this is running really badly. So what if I just press the button that I normally press on DOSBox to increase CPU cycles? So I tried that, and it's like, oh, it does seem to actually affect it, but not enough. It's like, it just doesn't, I can't, because I was trying games that I've already got working in DOSBox as a comparison, and it's like, well, this just doesn't run good enough.
Are you running it in Chrome?
Yeah.
Try it. I mean, seriously, I mean, I think I said this off the air before, try it in IE, because whatever they've done to IE recently, I think that JavaScript engine is so much faster.
Chakra is really, really fast, yeah.
But yeah, it was a bit, it's like, I can't exactly tell what is making it worse, whether it's the actual emulation or the sound emulation, because the sound gets all glitchy, but that might just be because it's running slow. Yeah.
I mean, I tried playing, I guess, like, I tried playing Outrun, is the one that I remember, and that just ran way too slow. Like, and this was the arcade version of it, not the.
I tried a couple of the pinball games, and of course it doesn't deal with the resolution scaling properly in those old pinball games.
Yeah, because that was always messed up for some reason.
Yeah.
Why did pinball want weird resolutions, honestly?
It's because they were trying to stretch the view of the pinball table in weird ways.
Yeah.
Because it was a scrolling vertical resolution, and they wanted to have it compressed so that it didn't have to scroll as much or whatever.
But it compressed. But monitors didn't scale it to the right at keeping the aspect ratio, did they, at the time?
They did if you set it up right. That's why it's like in DOSBox.
I suppose you could squeeze your monitor using the skanky CRT controls.
It's an automatic thing where it changes the resolution of the actual program. That's why it doesn't work in the browser version, because you can't manage the...
Oh yeah, no, don't get me wrong. I think it can work in DOSBox, but back in actual DOS...
No, that's why it worked in DOS, because it was changing the literal resolution. The game changed the resolution it was drawing vertically, but the system stretched it to the full screen. So it's drawing less lines vertical, but it's stretching it to full screen. So it still appears the right resolution.
I always thought it was the other way around, because I remember Psycho Pinball, for instance, being
Psycho Pinball was
different vertically, because it was rendering it actually at a higher vertical res than it was horizontally. And so your monitor's rendering it as a square, because it was, and so everything ended up vertically squished.
Psycho Pinball was different. That was a more modern, because that ran on Windows as well. So that sort of
DOS in Windows.
Yeah. So that was a modern. It wasn't like the old school ones where it really was fucking doing weird things with resolution just because they could.
Well, those were difficult to get working as well. Some of those because of that. Old pinball games, they were nuts.
So yeah, I looked through that whole list of DOS games to see what was in there. Serial Cyberpunk is in there.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It didn't run well enough for me to actually play it, but it's in there.
Oh, that's awesome.
I've still got the CD. It's fine.
Psycho Pinball, they might have problems with.
Psycho Pinball wasn't in there because presumably I presume the cutoff is anything that actually ran from Windows 3.1, even if it was still technically a DOS game, because there wasn't Micro Machines 2 wasn't in there.
Yeah. Or Codemaster specifically said, "Don't do our games, please."
Well, I guess Micro Machines 1 was in there.
No, really? Okay.
There is Codemasters news. Bad Codemasters news. There've been layoffs at Codemasters, supposedly.
No.
Yeah.
Well, this whole sticking with doing racing thing isn't working out for them, huh?
Mm.
Well, not the specific kind of racing they tried to do.
I don't think the Autosport thing worked out too well for them.
No.
Which is a shame, because apparently that's a pretty good, refinement of Grid 2. It's what Grid 2 should have been.
Yeah. I think people were a bit insulted by that stupid cockpit mode. We put the cockpit mode back in, and it just looks freaking terrible.
Mm.
Anyway.
It's a shame. There was a point where Cody's were on top of their game, but since Grid 2, not quite been there.
Hmm.
Which isn't to say Grid 2 was really a bad game, it's just not really what anyone... They went too far down the whole career-y sort of path, and I thought they were starting to make that mistake with Dirt 3. Where as soon as everything gets too locked into being, you're actually doing a career and you've got people talking to you and you're uploading your videos to YouTube to raise your profile. And it's no, this is bullshit. I don't want to hear these fake managers talking to me.
Well,
they went way too far down that route. And it's don't get me wrong, I think you could do it well. And they have attempted it, I think, a couple of times with the F1 series.
Now. Yeah.
Where to try and make the F1 career a bit more like you having an F1 career. And in that context, I think I'm fine with it, because F1 is more of a... there's more of a...
Well, F1 actually exists, for a start. So it's it actually makes sense.
All those things in Dirt exist.
They exist, but they it's not like... If you think about even Dirt 2, where it's we're travelling around the world in our camper van to all these different random dirt events around the world.
Yeah.
It's that's not really how that works.
No, but in Dirt 2, they kind of did it all right in the sense that they didn't really care. They didn't go
interfere, but then in Dirt 3, you're we've made up this mysterious off-road sort of tour thing that travels around the world to all these different places and has random events.
Some of them are real, though, aren't they?
Yes, but it doesn't matter whether the events are real. It's whether the career mode doesn't make sense if it's not in a structure that makes sense.
Yeah, sure. And Grid had that problem as well, I guess, because it was trying to have a number of disciplines and trying to tie you to get to them all as a single career.
Yeah.
You know? And I think if they go too far, as I say, if they go that route, I'm not entirely sure it hangs together. And it's like, I'm a little bit worried that Forza Horizon 2 might suffer a little bit from that problem because the way they're setting it up is like a competition, but maybe that's okay because it's like it's all with under the Horizon bracket in one place, and maybe it will work. I don't know. Having not played it yet, can't comment on that really.
Well, the Forza Horizon thing, like, the main reason why that whole situation doesn't make sense is because there's no way that event would actually happen. It's like the amount of like off-road criminal damage that goes on in those games. That's not actually how that would work in real life.
No. Anyone with a vineyard in Europe needs to be slightly afraid.
There's no way that event would actually get sponsored by anyone.
No. Isn't Horizon a real thing, though?
Well, yeah, but not like that.
Not like that, no.
So that's news.
Yeah.
I guess.
Cool. That's news.
News!
So, what you've been playing after in the aftermath of the Steam sale?
Oh, man.
And before that, even.
Yeah.
After how long we haven't talked about it.
I got quite a bit to talk about.
Go for it.
But does Zach want to go first?
Well, there's one thing that I maybe should have mentioned earlier that I totally forgot about, but related to things that Rob's been playing. Because I know one of the things Rob's been playing is Transistor for the end of our Game of the Year debate.
I played a bit of that too, but I didn't play any more. Then I didn't play any more than you guys had done in that video.
So the thing that I was just remembered that I should have mentioned earlier was like corrections column thing.
Oh, really? Okay.
It's not actually in any particular way important to our Game of the Year deliberations, but I went and actually looked it up again, and it turns out that Bravely Default was a 2 years ago game, because it came out in the opposite way round.
The Japanese version was quite some time ago. But
no, it came... Well, yeah, the Japanese version was ancient, but it came out the other way round, and that's what confused me. It came out in Europe first, in December of 2013, and then came out in America in 2014.
Okay.
So that's what confused me about it. So it technically came out in 2013, but I mean, fuck it. It didn't really interfere with our deliberations that much.
No. That's fine.
So yeah. And then what? Transistor. Rob, talk about that, I guess.
Yeah.
I played some more of that as well, just because, everyone was.
You've platinumed that game now, right? Or you've S-ranked
Yeah, I've done that. I did that the first time.
Yeah. Oh, you went back to it even after that? Okay.
Yeah, I played it through twice in a row, basically, when it first came out, and got all the achievements then.
It's interesting that you do need to play it twice to get anywhere near
Well, there's an achievement specifically for finishing it twice.
Yeah. I'll be honest with you. I'm not sure if I'll do that because I don't think it resonated with me in quite the same way that it resonates with you. But I think I understand why it does.
But it gets cool after when you go through the second time and you unlock all the skills again, so you can apply the same skills onto themselves.
Yeah, I forgot about that. The whole copy thing.
Yeah. That's where it gets super cool.
Yeah, maybe I will play it a bit just to see how that functions.
And the enemies do get harder at that point.
Yeah. Well. So, yeah, I don't think it quite sits with me as well as it does with you, Zed. There's a lot to like. Don't get me wrong. I really like the visual style, even when it gets white. Without going into too many spoilers, when I even quite like that whole bit. There's something quite cool in its design. I don't know. It's not as interesting. I agree with you there, but it's not bad. It's like the fact that it's there is kind of neat. And the combat is interesting again because it's totally new, really, in the way that it functions, and it's the fact that it's not tactics and grid based, and it's sort of real time, but you can stop it and do things, and it's real interesting mechanically, and I like the flexibility you get with all the functions and mucking about with them and trying to and the actual fact that the game kind of encourages you to fuck about with them in order to learn the information that the functions hold is neat, because that kind of, it forces you down those paths to have a play, which is nice, because it means the game is essentially always going to be different throughout your first playthrough, at least, because although you may settle on some tactics that you like, you're still always having to mix up some part of it. That said, I'm not 100% sure I like the thing where it's pretty frequent, actually, I find, especially towards the end of the game, that what the turn planning says will occur can actually be really quite different from how things end up playing out.
Well, that's just something that you have to, like... That's one of the things where when you're experimenting with all the different skills, you're actually also having to learn why they don't match up with what the turn planning says.
Yeah, it's an interesting wrinkle, but it's just... It can be so frustrating sometimes when you're just like, oh, seriously, come on, why the fuck didn't that do any damage? It said it would do some damage, and this thing clearly connected, but it didn't damage him this time for some reason. And it's
I mean, it does... I guess sort of the game does teach you that immediately from the start, because as soon as you fight that young lady that teleports away after the first hit, that's basically the game telling you.
It is basically saying, hey, don't trust this completely. But in the same vein, it's like when you are doing something simple, like just standing in front of something and wailing on it, and one of your shots goes wayward or doesn't do anything, then sometimes it's just a little, okay, what the fuck just happened?
Well, the other problem...
There's something about the way that plays out. Like, I'm not sure I'm a fan of when you hit the go button, of it just doing all of that and then snapping back to real time in one go, because it like things seem to happen too fast sometimes for you to see the result, and then you're in control immediately and everything's sped up, and it's a little bit overwhelming to try and actually gather, okay, what did go right on that run and what did go wrong, because then you can't pause it because you've got to wait for your thing to recharge. I'd like to be able to just pause, but without planning at that point, to be able to just go, okay, what just happened? How do I deal with this?
Okay.
So for the real-time segment, I can sort of plan without the turn, if you see what I mean. I think that would add an element of frustration saving. I'm not a huge fan of the attacks the enemies throw at you either. I don't like the things with like solid beams that you can't really avoid. Those fucking dogs. Like, for the love of God, those fucking dogs.
That's what it's told you. It's like, that's the one...
That's the one enemy that means you have to have Jaunt.
Yeah, you have to have Jaunt, basically, because there's no other way to deal with the dogs.
Yeah. I don't like the running away phase. It's like, but just because of certain enemy types make that a real pain in the arse.
It's not too bad.
It's not, for the most part, you're right. But it's just there's the odd occasion where it's like, okay, well, I can't fucking do anything about this, can I? Or the time when jerks level up to the point where they have their gravity beam and they pull you in, and it's like, oh, I can't actually get away from this fucker.
You
it's going to kill.
You go whoop, whoop.
Yeah, then they pull you back in, and if you're playing with the double damage limiter and you didn't know that thing was coming, and you're like, oh, cock, I can't actually defeat this without overloading.
Just always hit the jaunt button continuously.
Yeah, that one in particular. I don't like how Jaunt sometimes doesn't activate if the Jaunt location is in a wall or something. Sometimes it just doesn't go.
Well, it's if you're pushing up against the wall. It's like if you're, it's literally to do with like the parallel line. It's like if your Jaunt line is not parallel or inwards for a wall, it won't go.
It's a bit touchy.
You're connecting with the wall.
Yeah, it's a little touchy on that front, and I found that kind of frustrating, especially when you're about to die. And it's like, fucking go! Oh, you're not fucking going! Ah!
But it's also because of the way there's like the slight pause of cooldown as you're coming out of Jaunt, and then that tempts you to keep mashing it too quickly without realising that you need to re-aim your line slightly.
Yeah, so it's that kind of stuff. So I don't think it's without its flaws, but I really like what they're trying to do, if you see what I mean.
Compared to Bastion?
I think it's much more ambitious than Bastion, because Bastion mechanically is actually quite a simple game.
Yeah. I think I like
whereas
combat
this
better
is
than Bastion, for sure. Even with the frustrations, because it's just more interesting.
It drew me in more than Bastion did. I'll give it that. Like, it was one of those games that I didn't necessarily, when I'm not playing it, immediately go, I have to play some more Transistor. It didn't have that effect on me. But while I was playing it, didn't really want to stop. So once you get going with it, it's like, it's just, I'll keep going. I'll have another fight. I'll have another fight.
Obviously, there's not really any breakpoints, so it's just like you just go to the next access point, and then you look at your files. But then it's just like, well, I've closed that access point. I'll just carry on walking.
Carry on, yeah. And I like that about it, the way that it's structured as just a continuous thing.
Yeah.
That it's not so... I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong, there are segments of...
There are a couple of things where it's just like, let's look at you driving a bike for a while.
Yeah. And let's have a little bit of exposition.
Yeah.
Oh, which I guess gets onto the the big thing about that game, I guess, like mechanics aside. I mean, I'm not sure the story sits well with me. Like,
that's what everyone said.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I went and read up some stuff about it after finishing the game, as I think you have to with this.
Okay.
Like, because that's part of the way that story is designed, I think, is to make you go and think about it and to make you go and theorize about what the bloody hell just happened. And I immediately thought, oh, does Zach like this because it's a bit Razefon in that way? You know, it's a bit...
It's like every fucking story like that. It's like you just recreate the world or whatever.
Yeah. But there's a lot of stuff like to fill in
Well,
this.
It's not really. I don't think it's really that complicated, or you don't have to go and look shit up to understand the basic idea of it.
Well, yeah, it's like what is the world? You know, even like just fundamentals, like what exactly is the world? Like it can't be real, right? It has to be.
Well,
virtual.
Yeah, it is just like kind of inferred. You can get that quite easily from.
But then
things
what are the people? Are they just other programs or weird AI routines, or are they people logged into the world through external means? What the fuck is the country? It's like, why? Like, is there a meaning to the recursion? It's like all that kind of stuff. Oh, and the weird thing that happens, without giving too much away, I won't say what it is, but the very first thing that happens in recursion, that very first line of dialogue, and you're like, okay, what? Why did that happen?
I don't think that was actually in the original game. I think they patched that in later because I'm pretty sure I didn't hear that. I think I just heard it as the same as it was the first time and the second time.
Okay, yeah.
But then when I logged back in and my recursion save was there, and I was like, I need to get to the menu, so I need to go through the sequence, and I hit it, and it was like, that was weird.
Yeah. So don't get me wrong, I enjoyed Razefon as well. I don't necessarily have a problem with the concept of vague storytelling in general. I kind of like having my mind mill it over like that. I just don't think the game gives you enough for you to fully enjoy that while you're playing.
Well, it just seemed like they were in a rush with the way. Also, not spoiling, but it's like the whole thing with the big bad guys and how that all resolves. It's just like that just seemed like they could have extended that story a bit further to have a bit more opportunity to slip in some more exposition.
Yeah, because there's sort of also the implication that the game gives that like Red and the lover sort of understand towards the end kind of understand what's happening, or is there? Again, that's the thing. Is there? It's, I don't know. I just don't think there's quite enough for you to grab while you're playing, for you to sort of go, okay, right, this is why I'm doing this thing. This is why I'm doing this thing, to give you the, I don't know, the motivation of what's happening. But I like I kind of like what they're trying to do. It's super ambitious. Perhaps
doesn't quite get there for you, though.
Yeah, perhaps their third game is going to nail it, because this sounds like, Bastion they started off relatively simple mechanically, still had some of the vague storytelling stuff, but there was more to that world, and there was much more exposition telling you about the world as it was before the Calamity and things like that, because no one really understood what the Calamity was. Whereas in this one, they've taken that general idea and sort of ran with it, I suppose, and been all like, okay, we're going to make you think about everything, and perhaps they've gone a little too far. Third game, sign me up. It's like, these guys, that's two great games in a row.
So the question here is, I don't know if it's a fair question, really.
I think I know what's coming.
No, I don't know if you do.
Okay.
It's probably not a fair question because the size of game is different and various other factors. But Zach, is Zach going to give Bayonetta 2 a chance? Is my question.
Well, I can't really, can I? That's the actual problem.
Well, but why not, though?
You just spend some serious time with it.
I'd have to actually sit here at Rob's house and play it.
Yeah.
While he's sitting around.
I mean, you can. I want to see someone else play that game and have me watch it so I can see what else is going on in that game.
I think you need to at least give it a go, even if it's only an hour or two. Like, I know you can't make a video.
I watched Rob play plenty of it, so that's,
Yeah, you've seen me play a bit.
Yeah, but that's not the same as playing it, is it?
No, it's a feel game.
Exactly.
There too. But I definitely believe you can enjoy it from afar, but there's something about experiencing how it all works.
But it's also not a type of game that I play, I guess. It's like you guys played those games before, all the Batmans and the Assassin's Creeds or whatever. I mean,
but it's not like those games.
No,
it's
but
more
just
like
character action in general isn't really.
Yeah, exactly.
Zach's never touched, I guess.
No, it's not really Zach's thing, I suppose.
You never know. Maybe he'll like it.
Well,
maybe
it's the same reason why I theoretically want to play Witcher 3 because that looks awesome, and that's going to be like that by all accounts.
But it won't be like Bayonetta.
I mean it'll be like a character action game like Batman or whatever.
Right,
It'll have some kind of combat system that requires you to push buttons in a specific order.
That was news, wasn't there, about Witcher 3 this week?
Got delayed, yeah, but not much.
It got delayed by a little bit, but if you said they released their spec sheet.
I did see that. Man,
it's fine that that is my machine is minimum.
Mine is fine except the processor, but I don't understand. As far as I can tell,
my processor's okay. It's the RAM that worries me.
It's 8 gig, isn't it?
No, it's 6 gig min, which I have,
right?
But it's 8 gig recommended.
Okay, because I've got 8 gig, so that's okay, I guess. But
processor is slightly more powerful than the i5 they specify for the minimum, but
right,
it's
an i5.
Finally happened.
That's right.
My machine is minimum spec.
I'm trying to work out what the recommended processor is compared to mine because my one is just older, but I don't think processors have actually got much faster. They've just got kind of cooler.
They've got more efficient.
More efficient, but they haven't actually got fast. So I think the recommended is like a 3770 or something, and I've got like a 2600K or something.
I think over the last 5 years or so, if I got a top spec i7, it's like twice as fast as the one I have. But
right, yeah.
But that's still, by normal processor evolution standards, that's not as big a jump as it has been in the past.
The trouble is, if your processor becomes the bottleneck, you then have to basically throw out most of your PC because you can't just swap out for the new one because they always change the bloody socket in the motherboard. Sure,
yeah. I mean, developers are going to have, in fairness to them, developers are going to have to do that anyway. If what we believe about what Ubisoft, what Ubisoft said about Assassin's Creed,
yeah, that's true. I don't know.
Being that the new consoles are CPU limited.
Yeah, they are.
It's not like Witcher 3 isn't coming out on consoles.
No, which is interesting.
Yeah, that could be interesting.
Then again, both machines have 8 gigs of RAM anyway, so that side is catered for.
That side's alright. It's just it's the CPU. The CPU seems to be the problem. I mean, because the CPU is the problem like the Wii U as well, apparently, because it's some ancient power PC core that they had to have for backwards compatibility with the Wii, which is this is a bad idea. Anyway.
Do you want to talk about random extra bits of news that are also really dumb?
Always.
Do we?
I saw a headline that said Evolve has gone gold, but they're having another beta, and it's that is the literal definition of not a beta.
Wait, no, but this is what this is just modern games making, isn't it? It goes gold, which means they're pressing the discs, and then there'll be an enormous post-launch patch.
Yes, but you can't call it a beta at that point.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Yeah,
call it a pre-release demo. That's what it actually is.
Yeah, that's a weird. I don't even know what we'd call that. Is it gamma? I guess.
Yep.
It's a gamma.
Just a load of crap. No one uses alpha and beta in actual software these days, though, do they? Because it's all agile and stuff.
We've talked about this a million times. Yeah, but you're right. It's all rubbish.
That headline was particularly.
I use that semantic versioning thing. Have you ever used that, Rob? It's when you have 3 numbers, so it's 1.0.0, right? Is the first version.
Yeah. And
then how it works is if you patch something but don't add any features, you increment the last number. So the last one's a patch. And then if you add features, you increment the middle one. And then if you make any breaking changes to the API, you increment the major one, the top one.
Oh, interesting. There's some logic to that.
And then you can use that to base your dependency management. So you can say, I want all the latest, greatest features, but I don't want any breaking changes automatically. Or you can make it stricter.
That technically means that what we're doing at my job is pretty much that, because we've gone on version 4 since we've started, and we're adding stuff, but we've never broken it. Changes. Yeah, that would increment the major version. Yeah. Or we've never broken stuff that affects external people. Let's put it that way.
Well, that's the key thing. Yeah.
Yeah, we've broken stuff that affects internal people, but then we've dealt with it. And I say people, I mean me.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So yeah, I do that. So my last number is the build. Oh, the third number we don't actually use. That's just 0 if it's debug and 1 if it's release.
Right.
And the last number is the build number within that. Is how we do it. Like the number of times it's been through the release ringer. Well,
yeah, I mean, to be honest, at work I've got our Team City, our continuous integration thing. It increments the last freaking number every time it builds. So you do a release build. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's why you have 4 numbers, so you can just let that number go up.
Yeah. Nah.
What else did you play?
What else did I play?
Get on with it.
Well, Dan, did you have any thoughts on Transistor and your time you've spent with it? Like,
just that I like so far I like the combat. It's more interesting than Bastion, but I haven't got far enough to. I think I'll probably end up agreeing with you on some of the story stuff, it sounds like, but I'll have to experience it for myself. But yeah, the art's really great, but and it's
that soundtrack as well. We didn't talk about the soundtrack.
Yeah,
man,
the soundtrack, it's really good.
So good.
Yeah, I don't know about Game of the Year though, but then I didn't play enough game. I was trying to look at all the like critical, and it's tons of lists that people have come out with, right? And it's mostly games I haven't played. And I was trying to think, well, what would it be if I played games? And I don't know. I don't like the year. Feels
it doesn't feel like a very innovative year.
No,
which is why I think actually, in a way, Transistor should be up there because it's what it's doing is quite different.
Exactly, it's doing something somewhat new with some good art to it that I don't know that has been done, but it's done in a different way. So it's it's cool. Because mechanically, I think if I'd played it, I'd probably be hoping for Shadow of Mordor because I'd probably have had loads of fun with it. But it's kind of a shame that it's just because I really like Assassin's Creed 2 and I really like Batman Arkham Asylum. But I don't.
And it seems like a good mix between the two things.
And I like Lord of the Rings, although I think that may be a disadvantage when you're playing Shadow of Mordor because it probably craps all over Lord of the Rings. But yeah, and the Nemesis system looks cool. But it's kind of a shame because I don't think. I'd probably have a lot of fun with it, but I don't think it's going to be as good a game as Assassin's Creed 2 or as good a game as Batman Arkham Asylum.
Maybe, yeah.
Almost certainly not. So, yeah.
Well, mainly because the story's guff as well, apparently.
Well, maybe, but even
not because of Lord of the Rings is guff, but because the story of the game is pretty guff.
Yeah, well, they made a good point on the Roncast, which is that, well, other people I'm sure have made it, which is that the kind of adolescent power fantasy of computer game, mashing everyone to bits and stuff, as an ultimate superhero, which is what you basically do in this, is totally incompatible with all the themes of the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, true. I mean,
the idea of
the ones how powerful you are at the end of that game, and it is a bit crazy.
I mean, a one-man army that can take on it almost makes a mockery of the evil of the ring and the inevitability of the defeat of the free people and everything. I don't know. Anyway, but that's kind of my thoughts. Is I will probably play that eventually. It's just I want to play as Creed 4 beforehand, and I'll wait for it to get cheap, and I'll probably have loads of fun with it. Well, yeah, but I don't think it's just not. So for me, I was happy with the Transistor versus Bayonetta 2 situation. I think having played a little bit of Transistor and having played Bayonetta 1 and having heard that you're saying that Bayonetta 2 takes out those niggles from Bayonetta 1.
Yeah, quite a lot of them are gone. Yeah.
That does make me lean towards it despite the fact I haven't played it. But I would want Zach to play it to get the definitive answer there, but that's my.
I'm so happy with it being split as it stands.
I don't think we are actually going to make any more decisions at this point.
Chances are we won't. Because
that podcast is on the internet and we're done.
So we got that
everything that happened.
Chances are we won't but as it stands, I'm still kind of happy with it being a split, just because Transistor is doing so much innovative stuff and pulls it off in a mostly satisfactory way. Yeah, mostly. Do I rank it above a lot of my other favourite games from the year? Not so sure, but I appreciate it. It's like a GTA for me, but not as bad as GTA 4.
Oh man, I can't wait for GTA 5 to come out on PC. It's going to be epic. I mean, it's the same game. I mean, someone reminded me the other day of the awful, awful torture mission in GTA 5, which is just they were trying to be clever and satirical, and they just fucked it up. Basically, for me, it's as bad as like I thought No Russian in Black Ops was really in poor taste
Tasteless.
and like rubbish, and like that should never have been in the game. And I think it's exactly the same. That mission in GTA 5, I wish they would just patch it out. Honestly, like apparently I've heard that you can't play it in first person, which I appreciate because that would be even worse.
The one part of the game you can't.
Yeah, exactly. But they should just take that out because it kind of ruins it. I mean, I was talking to Laura, and she was having a lot of fun with that game, and she got to that part and she was like, no, I'm not playing this anymore.
Well,
which I appreciate. But yeah, that game is great. Otherwise, I was watching a comedy the other day, TV sitcom which I'd never seen, but it's really good. It's called Broad City. It's these two girls living in New York City or whatever, and it's quite funny. But this creepy Broads, exactly, yeah. And this creepy locksmith character appears, and he's really creepy looking. And it was like, is that Trevor Phillips? It totally is. It was him, and his character in model is based on the actor as well. So it was just Trevor, and it was like, whoa, that was quite funny.
Is he going to sue Rockstar like Lindsay Lohan?
No. It's probably the best thing he ever did. I think it's most.
Oh, it's actually officially supposed to be like him, not.
Oh yeah,
they just wanted to model it after him, like just because.
No. It was him that did the voice and everything. I'm just saying the voice actor. That's fine. The character was
That's fine. That's legit.
Yeah, it's a really good performance actually. I quite like because Trevor is actually quite scary in places, like menacing. So yeah, quite look forward to seeing that again. But
I'd still quite like to play that game.
I think you should. You could just find a way to skip that stupid torture thing. And
yeah.
Anyway,
they won't because it will be impeding their artistic.
Yeah, but you should. People, that's the trouble. Once it's out there, people on the internet are like, well, free speech and all that stuff. It's the same with this recent stuff.
Yeah, but it can still be crap.
It can still be crap. Like it can still be bad. Yeah.
So I'm going to stick with single-player games, like in my discussion.
Okay.
Because I've been playing a shit ton of Sunset Overdrive.
Right.
I fucking like that game. It's a great game. But I can see why opinion of it is quite polarized. Like, you don't see a lot of people going, yeah, it's alright. You see a lot of people liking it, like a lot, and you see people hating it a lot. And I get that. Like, and that could be for a number of reasons. Like, the style can rub a lot of people up the wrong way. The gameplay can rub a lot of people up the wrong way. But for me, everything just works. I think it's a pretty good mix of all the mechanics. So I'm the sort of I'm not taking it seriously attitude that the whole game has. Totally fine with the Jet Set Radio-esque, as everyone keeps referring, like comparing it to sort of traversal stuff. I really quite like the visual fidelity, the visual style. Yeah, really like it.
I
music,
just think
not
it's
so much, but
it's just a shame to have to compare to something that has so much style.
Yeah,
and like mechanically, Jet Set Radio isn't that great in many ways.
No, especially not the first one.
But,
Future is a lot better in terms of like the flow of movement and stuff. And in some ways, actually, this kind of might have similar flaws. Like because you have complete freedom of movement, there are times where you hit objects and you just grind to a halt and something, and that's when it's like, damn. Either I screwed that up or I couldn't make the game do what I wanted to do in that moment because certain bits of the control are perhaps a little floaty. But, do you remember when you jumped in Jet Set Radio and you had a very slight amount of air control and you're like, I can't quite steer it to where I want to go.
You could
that's really frustrating.
Yeah.
And there were times where depending on how you jumped, you'd get a certain kicked in a certain direction differently and it felt a little weird because of that, like a little imprecise. It's like, this has some of that.
Right.
And given that it's a lot faster and there are all kinds of weird moves to do, like the air dash and the wall run and linking them together, and it's like, for the most part, it works great, but when it sort of doesn't, it's a little jarring. It's quite generous with, like, if you have to push X every time you want to grind. You don't auto grind, which helps if you need to, like, fall through things rather than, like, attaching to every bloody telegraph wire that's about the city, or whatever wire or cabling's about. And it does mean that actually, when you're getting good at the game, it feels like you're getting good. It's not just that you're powering up or whatever. It's like you're actually getting better at manipulating the controls to do things. Because I don't know if I actually stop to notice what my hands are doing, they're doing quite a lot. I'm quite busy just moving around, like jumping around place, making sure I'm hitting the X button to grind, pushing the air dash button at just the right moment, not pushing it here to do things. You're actually kind of involved with just moving around, and I like that because it makes the traversal interesting, which is something a lot of games don't, or open world games just don't do well. Is getting around the world can feel dull, and this is anything but.
Yeah, I love that when the traversal is. I mean, to be honest, that the traversal stuff was the best thing about Crackdown. Do you remember?
Oh yeah.
I mean, it was just fun to move around the city. That made the whole game.
Yeah, and it got better as you got all the movement orbs and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes that can make the game, having really good, and sometimes it can be really boring if you get that bit wrong, as you say. So having a good, nice, powerful kind of traversal. I mean, I gather that like Saints Row, by the time it gets to ridiculous 3, you never use. Aren't you're like a superhero in 4, aren't you? You can just literally like fly.
You don't. Driving seems pointless.
Yeah, exactly. So, but that seems kind of fun. But that seems a little bit like, I haven't played that too much, but that seems like if you can just fly, it's not as much fun as having to interact with the world in order to move, which is what you're doing in like Tony Hawk, and that's kind of what, and Jet Set Radio, and that's what you're doing in, but in an open world that's cooler in Sunset, Overdrive.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I think I agree with that completely. It's just, I find the traversal just fun to the point where, like, I don't know, there's a lot of stuff to collect around the world. You've got there's a lot of like various things just littered about that you need to pick up. So collectibles are high, and they act as like forms of currency for unlocking some of the amplifications or amps. They never call them amplifications. I don't know why I called it that. The amps, the crazy stuff.
Sure.
You need to find all these things, and I have a good time just getting around the city hunting these down. Or once you get the collectible maps, finding the spot on the map where this thing roughly is, and then trying to find where exactly the thing is and collecting it, because the traversal is just interesting enough. And then as you're traversing, of course, you see these ridiculous monsters about, which are fun to kill. It's like, I don't know, I find everything about this game fun. Like, just not even in a really taxing sort of way. I don't really, engage. It's kind of a nice relaxation game for me.
Cool, yeah.
Despite the fact how crazy it is and how much I'm concentrating to do the traversal, I find it a very relaxing experience.
You get into a kind of flow, kind of like with Tony Hawk almost, is sort of.
Yeah.
Do you think?
Kind of. Tony Hawk's can be frustrating because you're usually gunning for a goal, or you're trying to get a score, or you're trying to improve. This doesn't really have difficulty. It's like, it can be hard at times facing off against certain enemies, but death has no penalty. And I really mean, most of the time, it has 0 penalty. If you die, you come back somewhere, you start it all again, you just carry on. The game doesn't care. And,
and it has some crazy respawn animation as well, just to make it.
Which is great, because you're like, I don't die very often, but every time I have, I've seen something different, and it's like, okay, that's cool. Like, you sort of can't help but chuckle when you're getting born out of an egg. You're covered in goop. It's just like, oh, this is cool. It's as I say, it's a highly enjoyable game. A lot of people say that the gunplay is probably the weakest element, and it's like, they're not exactly wrong, because while you're doing the gunplay, you're basically just finding, okay, where's the easiest rail to grind, so I can focus on shooting whilst traveling in a relatively predictable line. And there are some areas in the game where there are challenges to perform where perhaps that form of traversal isn't necessarily so easy. And that's when the game gets a little frustrating if you can't necessarily combine the two things together well. Like, either because the environment is too complex, or that a lot of what you traverse on is near ground level where you're vulnerable, then stuff gets a little tricky. And it's like, a little hard to manage. It's like, you don't tend to die, but you just have to deal with it in a way that perhaps isn't as fun as the rest of the game normally is, and or you're just getting mashed about a bit. So, gameplay-wise, it's kind of cool. The weapons are fun, like you get some that are just boring guns, but then you get things that are like exploding teddy bears or firework launchers or like one gun that spawns a clone of yourself that sits there sort of doing a funky dance, and anyone getting close to it gets zapped by a red laser beam.
Okay.
There's some cool stuff there. And your ability to modify those. So, like, I don't know, there's one that's a giant bowling ball that you can fire, and it like just mows everything down in a line. But you can give it like an amp. You can give weapons amps. So you could have it so when it kills something, there's a chance for that thing to turn into an explosive. So you can create ridiculous chain reactions. Like, because the amount of people you might be killing with this bowling ball, and it will be turning those things into explosives, and then they all go off, and it's like, yeah, satisfying. That's pretty much what that game is. It's satisfying. The only thing I think they could have improved upon, though, is their choice of music.
Right, yeah, that must be hard to get right. I mean...
Because, they roll with the punk theme the majority of the time, but the problem is that it all just kind of just becomes background noise. It's like, they try and do some cool stuff to be like, when your style level is 0, for instance, there's no music. And then as you start doing stuff, like you'll get the bass line come in with a bit of drums and stuff. And the more style you get, eventually you'll get the full guitar track and the vocals will come in and stuff. So it's supposed to get more hype as stuff happens. Which is neat, and it works for the most part. But it's just a bit, I don't know, the same sort of just chords, I guess, all the time with the same drum beat. Gets a little...
Yeah, a bit grating.
Monotonous. I wouldn't say grating, because it's fine, but it's just... Not it doesn't stand out. It's not like Jet Set Radio's soundtrack where it's just like, oh yeah, that song, that tune,
so good.
It's like you hear a song, hear the aisle 10 or whatever song comes on, you're just like, tune.
I don't know, that one does get kind of annoying.
Times.
Yeah.
But there's some pretty amazing.
Any of the Naganuma stuff. Did we just lose you, Dan? You sounded like you cut there.
Yep, he's gone.
Oh no, we've lost Dan.
Good, right, well, carry on talking about your next game, I guess, while Dan maybe hears that he's not connected and tries to fix it.
This makes me wonder if my router's doing its dumb thing that it sometimes
like
does.
Your internet has failed.
Where it's restarted, and...
Potentially.
It still says he's connected.
Yeah, Dr. Nick to a new channel. Default channel timed out from the server.
Yep.
Okay. Enjoy that.
Fail.
Yeah.
So what's next on your game list that you don't need Dan to discuss about?
I don't know. I might need to figure this out because he won't be able to reconnect if my IP address changes.
No, that's true.
Cut!
Oh, don't cut the podcast!
Zach talk about something I'm listening.
Well...
No, shit, the router did die.
No, okay. I guess I played a lot of Guild Wars. Dan doesn't need to hear about that.
No, that's true.
I played a whole bunch of Guild Wars because of the Christmas event lasting a very long time. Like, literally a month, at least, maybe more. And it was just like... They've done a thing where I think it seems like they're doing a bit of power creep, but not in, like, the game. They're doing, like, power creep in how much stuff they give out in events. where they're just, like...
Oh, because like the previous Christmases, like I guess all the winter events, I suppose.
Well, all the previous versions of all the events, I guess. Like even like the Halloween one this year, it's just like they've scaled up the amount of stuff you get and how easy it is to get it.
Or is that not like whatever every MMO tends to do, where it's like they make it easier for new players to sort of catch up? Like so every year they just make things easier.
I don't think they should have done that for the events, because the whole point of the events is it's meant to be a thing that you do during that time period, and to some extent make it so
that getting the stuff within the time period is part of the challenge.
Yeah, to some extent. I mean, it's like they have still done that in some ways. Like some of the rarer stuff that you can get out of the Christmas event is quite difficult to get, but it's not. Most of it isn't difficult to get because of it being difficult to get. Most of it is difficult to get because it's a really low probability drop out of the Christmas presents, so you just have to open a shit ton of them.
Yeah.
And that's just a matter of grinding and
then grinding your clicks. Click, 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 click.
Yeah, exactly. So like they don't. and you'd get a whole shit ton more of those Christmas presents, but the probability of getting these rare things is just even lower. So you can just get a ridiculous number of presents, and then you have to open the presents, and then you have to deal with what comes out of the presents, and half of the shit that comes out of the presents you're just fucking destroying because it's not actually worth anything because the markets are so incredibly saturated. So yeah, it's not actually... I think they've scaled it a bit too far in the direction of giving you a shit ton of stuff.
Right.
On the plus side, one of the things that has been incredibly common to get out of the Christmas event and the Halloween event is just luck. So my magic find percentage has gone up quite a lot.
Your magic find percentage was already pretty ridiculous.
Well, it's just because I play the game more. It's not like it had gone up very quickly compared to the amount of time I did playing, but then once these two events have gone past, it's gone up significantly during the time period of those events. Christmas has been slightly less ridiculous for that than the Halloween was. The amount of luck I was getting out of Halloween was ludicrous for the amount of time I was playing the game.
I can't remember. What did they do for Halloween this year? Is it just the...
Well, the trick-or-treat bags, again,
yes.
They gave you just get more of them, and they just drop luck. Actually, it's like out of the Halloween bags, there was less of a variety of different things you could get, I think was the thing.
Right.
So you just tended to get like the generic stuff like luck more frequently. So I just got a ton of luck.
Does this mean you'll eventually be able to get a decent bit of... Or just... At the level you're at, does luck actually mean anything?
Well, it's like since about, I don't know, 70% magic find probably, I've been seeing that I get yellow drops out of enemies and stuff.
Oh, cool.
More frequently. It's like, it's not just all green.
Yeah. That'd be nice.
But it's really the trouble with it is that, like, getting yellows is fine, but it's still like 90% of the time it's not anything you care about. It's just salvage. It's just better salvage. Salvage ectoplasm out of it. Because you need ectoplasm for doing even higher level stuff.
Sure.
But then, like, the real thing that Magic Find matters for is, like, when you're opening the boss chest, and it's like you have a small chance of getting an exotic thing. So it's like the next level up. But then, because that's such a small chance, and because it's like, you're not... Well, unless you're doing the grind, it's not like you're opening boss chests that often. So it's just like... The percentage of Magic Find when I'm up to 100%, it's just like I'm still not noticing that it's having any effect on that. Because it will still be ages until I get the random chance of getting an exotic or whatever.
Sure, yeah. The probability is still really low.
Yeah. So even the 100% bonus is not sufficient. Your cat has gone crazy.
Fuck's sake, cat. Is this what happens? Like, does the router calm her down? When the internet is working?
Oh no, the internet's gone, holy fuck!
Ah! It's like...
The cat is Wi-Fi connected.
Now I need to wig out, so the cat videos can't make of me wigging out, can't make it to the internet.
Oh, I see. It's like, while you can't upload them to the internet, it's safe to be completely insane.
It's like how people don't like their photo taken or something, they shy away from the camera. Cat shies away from all forms of internet, including ambient Wi-Fi. Oh, where's Dan connecting? You should have the IP now.
So you need to go and poke him some more.
Maybe.
Or is your internet still boned?
Oh, says it's working now.
So I guess there's not really much else to say about Guild Wars, apart from the Christmas stuff has been... I think they made most of it...
Dr. Next entered your channel default
Hello.
on the server.
Hello, you're back. We're just talking about Guild Wars 2 because you weren't here, and obviously you don't need to be involved in that conversation.
I have returned.
Yeah, sorry about that. My router, as I explained very briefly, my router has a thing at the moment where it likes to restart itself periodically, and it's the most annoying thing.
Ugh. So you're in the middle of a game or a podcast.
Yeah, and it can just die.
Not as bad as my internet's been, but I think that's actually a problem with the actual physical internet. Like, they've been working in the phone lines or whatever.
Yeah, I hope it's not the physical internet, but I'm pretty sure it's the router, because the router goes through a whole boot-up sequence, and for a while you can't get into its...
access.
Yeah, into its admin panel.
So yeah.
Fuck routers.
I guess there wasn't really anything else much to say about Guild Wars. I was just wrapping it up, saying the Winter's Day stuff is...
Wrapping it up?
Yep.
No, that's good. That's good.
Well, saying the Winter's Day stuff is probably too easy to just get stuff. Some of it is actually sort of nice, though, because they've made... Like, there's that... The event in the stupid, like, toy production facility or whatever, where you have to defend the dolly axe and waves of toys, the defense
waves
mode
in
every game ever. That's sort of easier
Herd
now
mode.
because you don't have to form a party.
Oh, okay.
It's like you just join a random game, and then there's always a game running, and then it just drops you into wherever there's space.
Oh, cool.
But although the other version of that, where you actually have to, where it's not just a horde mode, like there's specific events and stuff, that one you do still need to form a team for.
Right, okay.
That's not so bad. And that mode is probably another example of giving you way too much reward because it's quite easy to grind. And all you're doing is just like running back and forth and setting up turrets. So it's not like you're actually
really fighting.
Yeah, you're not really doing anything taxing. That's another podcast activity. Like, I'll listen to this podcast and just grind out a shit ton of Winter's Day presents because it's well easy.
Yeah.
Oh, and the other thing that's sort of different, I guess, about Good Wars is that they did do the login rewards patch where they got rid of the monthlies or whatever.
Oh, yes.
And the new dailies. The new dailies do kind of suck, though, because like the things that they've chosen. Well, sometimes it just sucks because they choose things that I don't do, even within the context of PvE. Because it's like they have PvE and they have PvP and they have World versus World, and it's like if you do 3 out of any of those, then you get your daily reward of achievement points.
Right, that's a bit annoying.
Well, that's not too bad because there's like four achievements in each. So if you can do 3 out of 4 in one of the sections, then you're good.
Oh, okay.
And obviously,
you need to succeed in one section.
Yeah,
Okay.
or 3 out of any of those.
Sure. Right.
But I only have one section to work from because I don't PvP, and I very, very rarely World versus World if I can be bothered. So I'm only worried about the PvE. So there's 4 achievements to choose from, and there's been several times where it's just like, well, there's like today there was one of the four PvE achievements was for doing fractals. And I don't do those.
Yeah.
So that's actually a bit of PvE content I've never done. So one of them was for doing fractals, and another one was for doing a specific level of fractal. And I was like, well, shit, that just means I can't do my daily today because 2 out of the 4
fractals
are fractal related.
Yeah, that sucks.
But then what actually sucks more about them is like for some reason they chose to make one of the types of PvE daily category like. They've had this before, but now there's only 4 to choose from. It's kind of worse, where one of the categories will sometimes be do 5 events on this specific map. So naturally, the entire fucking server is just piling onto these maps and completing the events that spawn in like 2 seconds. It's like if you're not there, literally the moment the event spawns, you're never going to get to where it is in time to contribute.
You just need to be part of the train somehow.
Yeah, you just need to vaguely have an idea of where the events spawned on this map and kind of know which ones respawn quickly and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I get the impression they might change some of that.
Yeah, kind of hoping so. And then the other one that also sort of sucks in some ways is when one of the PvE events is for a world boss, because the world bosses only spawn at certain specific times of the day. So you have to be like, I better make sure I'm still playing at 2:15 when this boss spawns.
Yeah, that sounds a little silly. I get in a way, do you reckon they're encouraging people to be together, like in the way the game, like to stop people from just spreading out and doing shit wherever?
It's not actually a good experience. Even in the world bosses, where it's like, oh look, the entire server is standing here waiting for this world boss to spawn, and then it dies in like 30 seconds because everyone's just beating the shit out of it.
Yeah.
Doesn't actually make that an interesting experience. It makes that a frame laggy experience.
Shouldn't they? Well, yeah. Shouldn't they try and scale? Maybe that'll, if they want to stick with this idea, maybe they'll try and scale bosses and events better.
I mean, they do scale the bosses events. It's just not
enough, obviously.
But it seems like they're just putting too many people in the same server. Because after they changed to the whole mega server system, where regardless of which supposed server you're on, you just get lumped in with a server worth of people.
Yeah,
it still seems like they're letting too many people in per map.
Right. Okay.
They could, but then it's like you don't. No, I think they could just lower the cap, and it would make it better. Like slightly fewer people completing every event instantly, and slightly fewer people instantly murdering the world boss.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, it's a bit weird, but it's fine. I'm not quite. I'm on the last row of the daily login rewards, so I've only got like 4 or 5. No, probably like 5 or 6 more days until I see what the last one is. The supposed potential legendary equipment part, or whatever. So yeah, that's Guild Wars. And then I guess I was trying to remember other things that I should talk about that I hadn't talked about during this 4 to 6 weeks. We haven't talked about stuff. There hasn't really been that much. There was Luftbrowsers over Christmas for the sale.
You were saying you've been playing quite a bit of that. Yeah, take me through Luftbrowsers.
That looks pretty damn cool, I have to say.
Because I've played quite a lot of it as well. Yeah.
I don't know, it's fine.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's just fine, if you ask me.
But it's not like there's anything to it. It's just it's another Super Hexagon type game where it's or a mobile style game where it's you do a thing for a minute and then you're done.
Yeah.
And then you can keep playing it.
I think the conditions, it doesn't feel necessarily totally fair.
I think my main problem with it is that there's too much variance in the randomness of how things spawn.
Yeah, you can have total blank periods of time.
Well, it's just mainly from the very beginning of the game. It's sometimes normally you get a certain amount of small planes spawning, but sometimes it's it just continues to spawn the small planes, and sometimes it doesn't. And it's just I've killed all the small planes, but now I really kind of need something to continue my combo with, and those are the thing that you continue your combo with because they die really easily.
Yeah, and then then you're left with the boats.
Yeah, boats pretty much.
Yeah,
it's just
which don't necessarily go down that quick.
No, it's just there's slightly too much variance in the randomness of the spawning.
Yeah, and it makes actually gunning for a score and stuff like that kind of tricky because it's it might not actually be. You might not get a run that's very helpful,
compatible with your plan, and then that can obviously screw you later on. Whereas, the thing that always gets me is when it, randomly 4 enemy aces have spawned.
Oh, yeah.
It's Jesus Christ!
Yeah, shit, that's a problem.
And then, taking down a blimp. It's difficult.
Or if you're too slow at taking down a blimp, or you just avoid it, and the second one turns up, and you're like, oh, fuck.
I don't think I ever survived long enough once one blimp is there to worry about two.
Oh, because you haven't taken one down yet?
Well, I did, eventually.
Oh, you have? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's tricky. Only certain builds I've pulled that off with. I can't remember what those are now.
Well, the trouble is there's two builds where one of the last missions is kill a blimp. And it's just those are the difficult ones.
Yeah.
I found a build that I could do it with, but I'm not sure I could do it with either of those two other ones.
And then you've got all the SFMT challenges.
Well, those aren't very difficult, surprisingly.
So some of them aren't. And then until you get to you need to get this far and kill this thing, some of them towards the end are pretty tricky.
Yeah, but a lot of them.
I don't think I've done them all.
Kill a boat. And it's well, that's that.
Yeah.
That's still quite difficult, but it's doable.
Yeah.
One of them, I noticed that one of the last random part challenges is kill 3 blimps with your eyes closed, which I assume is just a kill 3 blimps in total over time.
Wow. Oh, weird.
But yeah, playing random body parts and then trying to kill a blimp means you're going to be playing a lot of games over and over because you can't. There's a lot of ways that won't. If you get the melee body, that run's not going to happen.
No, probably not. Probably not.
So yeah, I played a fair bit of that. It's funky.
It's funky. It's sort of. I think I agree with everything you said. I don't think it's as good as a lot of places on the internet have been making out. It's not, end of the world. This is the game type stuff. But,
because it's for small games that came out this year. It probably is a pretty good one, really.
Yeah, in terms of all the small games you could think of, I'm not sure that's...
ever, but this year.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think there's been as many amazing small games.
Maybe not. Not those short timers, I suppose.
Yep.
Short time games.
As it's called.
Yeah.
And then the only other thing to talk about, which happened a very long time ago at this point, was I did actually finish Valkyria Chronicles.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Didn't get a chance to say that on the podcast.
Yeah, you told me about it, but...
Yeah. I didn't have
past that last mission then.
Yeah, I didn't have as much trouble with the last boss as Rob did, apparently.
Fuck, I don't know.
Although Rob didn't really remember why.
No.
I was trying to discuss with Rob.
You guys playing that.
I remember watching Rob play that last boss, or try to.
On the deck of that
I don't remember about it either.
Aircraft carrier thing, right?
Yeah.
I must have... I probably just was missing some golden tactic that opens that up.
Well, you see, this is the thing that I was trying to see if this was Rob's problem, but he couldn't remember.
I really can't.
Which was, I think it's actually a problem of the game has taught you one thing, which makes you think that you're meant to do it one way, but you're not. Which is so throughout the game, you have several encounters with Valkyrias. And they have their stupid blue glowy power, which basically makes them invulnerable.
Yeah.
So that's like your experience with them. And then there's one specific mission where you come up against the Valkyria where it's like, if you shoot her with a tank shell, you're told this. It's like, if you shoot her with a tank shell, it will slow her down, because apparently even though she's invulnerable, it still, takes effort or whatever to deflect the tank bullets. So you're told that specifically, and that's how you deal with it in that mission. You shoot her to slow her down while you're dealing with the other part of the mission. But then once you get to the last boss, it's like, that's a Valkyria situation as well. There's the blue glowy thing. It's slightly different because of things that happen.
Because of things.
But then it's like, so you disable the towers and that makes him vulnerable and then you shoot him. So naturally, I would say, from what you've been taught through the course of the game, you think that you're meant to shoot him with tank shells or anti-tank weapons. Because it's like, nothing else even damages him normally, and just because you've weakened him slightly, that's only going to make him slightly vulnerable. So you automatically think you're meant to hit him with the hardcore shit. When in actual fact, as it turns out, you just shoot him with anti-personnel weapon, and that's more effective.
Oh.
So you just shoot him with normal guns, and that does way more damage than tank shells, and obviously with tank shells, you're even using 2 command points per shot.
Right.
So you can do twice as much actual shots.
So I was like using my snipers and lancers to take down the towers.
Yeah.
And then I think I ended up in a weird timing situation where whenever he was vulnerable was a time where I needed to back off because everyone was like dead or super dying or something.
Yeah. I do
well, the way
so whenever I would have had the chance to actually do damage to him, I actually had to back off, otherwise everyone was going to die.
Well, the way it turned out for me was that I was saving, during the mission, but sort of coincidentally, I managed to trigger him into stage 2. Like, I managed to do enough damage with the tank shells to put him into the stage 2 mode where his attack pattern changes and he repositions backwards so it gives you more time. So I'd actually got to that point just before I discovered that you should shoot him with anti-personnel weapons. And then through discovering that, I realized that at this point, because basically all my non-tank units were still in the starting zone,
right,
he took 1 turn to walk forwards. I took the start of my next turn to disable the towers, and then I still had enough CP to run 2 assault dudes up. Because of the way where he moves to on that specific turn, he's standing on that platform which is slightly raised up. And as your units advance from the spawn, they go down into a dip so you can't see them.
Oh, interesting.
So as you come up the edge of the ramp to get a line of sight on him, that gives you enough time to get to position without him actually being able to see you, so you don't get counterfired.
Yeah. And
then you can just have one standing on each side, shoot him in the back each time so he turns around, which gives you even more time to get into firing mode before he realizes, basically. And then I just offloaded 6 or 7 turns worth of shots, ran them back down the ramp so you can see them again, maybe did a smoke grenade with the tank to make him even less aware of where everyone is during his turn. And then I got through it that way.
Yeah, I don't think I'd ever got to that second phase.
Yeah. It's kind of annoying in the second phase because his attack becomes even more ridiculous. It's just like an error of effect burst that hits practically everything on the battlefield.
All right.
So but it does more damage the closer you are, so
You could have just fired it at the smoke cloud.
Yeah, you could have done. Smoke clouds are a bit weird in that game. Literally, it completely obscures all line of sight, which can be awkward, because there's one mission where the enemy develops smoke cloud technology right near the end of the game, and it's incredibly difficult. It's like, an enemy is there, because you know that's where an enemy is, maybe not because you've necessarily seen them recently. But then, if there's a smoke cloud, even if you know an enemy is there, you practically have to bump into them before your guys will see them within the smoke cloud.
Right.
Which makes it incredibly difficult. It's like, I know an enemy is there somewhere, but I have to very carefully move over every inch of terrain possible just until I actually touch him to discover where he is. And he can't see me, so he's not going to do any counterfire during this process.
Right, yeah.
It's kind of awkward.
You see him and then go, oh, hello, bang, bang.
Yeah, then you can just shoot him. Yeah, that was the end of that game. And then I started playing it again, just because I was like, it was kind of weird.
Does it have a plus then, or do you mean just playing the story missions?
Well, there's a new game plus thing where you keep all your ranks and everything, and all your equipment, which makes the start of the game incredibly easy. Yeah. Because I was going through, there's an achievement for A ranking everything, and I was like, well, the start of the game should be easy, and it turns out it is. So I was just A ranking everything. And as it turned out, towards the end of the game, I was actually managing to get B ranks on some of the missions. So I was like, maybe I can do this. But, I didn't actually get all the way through it because that's a lot of missions to play.
Yeah.
Even when you're like practically invulnerable and can just run directly through all enemy fire and kill everything in one shot. And then I finished leveling up all the classes to 20 and all that fancy stuff. Got all their ultimate abilities, which are somewhat ridiculous in a lot of cases. Like, have this sniper woman whose ultimate ability is she has 100% accuracy, so her targeting cursor just becomes a point.
Yeah, right.
Shoot anything from any range and you won't miss.
Nice.
Which is kind of ridiculous. And it's also kind of funny to replace near the start of that game with your like high level equipment because it like arguably this could be the case in the actual normal progression as well, but it becomes the point where you basically don't use lancers because you can just machine gun tanks in the radiator.
Right.
It does ludicrous amounts of damage. Especially if you use the orders. It's like if you use the penetration order so it ignores defense.
Oh, yeah.
Then you can like take tanks out in like 5 bullets. If you can get to the radiator. So yeah, that kind of gets kind of ridiculous in some ways. But kind of cool in another way, where it's like, now I can be awesome. Do things cool and get A ranks in super fast times.
Yeah, just run someone up there. Basically,
there was one particular mission where it's just like it's that stupid mission where there's a base and it's on top of like a dual spiral hill. It's like one of the extra missions.
Yeah,
and it's like that mission. I A ranked in literally one turn, because it's like have this scout run directly into the middle of the enemy base, throw a grenade to knock the 2 guys who are in the flag zone out of the way, and tap it. And we're done. That's that. Easiest mission ever. So yeah.
Well, it's kind of that level of stupidity that I kind of like about it, in that it is like a proper strategy game rather than a war simulation in a way.
I guess.
Still, I like that game.
There was one.
So even if I didn't finish it, I like it.
There was one mission where I nearly boned myself out of an A rank because I didn't realise what the condition was. Because it's like get to the end zone, but it's like it's actually specifically get your tank to the end zone.
Oh, I see.
So I ran through everything completely, like really being awesome and like only killing the things I need to and evading everything else and like capping midpoints and respawning everyone up there. And I was like, oh wait, I actually need to drive the tank all the way from the rear because you can't respawn that. Fuck. But I made it in time, so it was okay.
Still made it on time.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, that's that game. It's pretty damn cool.
Coolio.
Shame the sequels were on PSP.
Well, we'll see. Maybe they'll suddenly re-release them on PC somehow.
Yeah, they would take a bit more work to bring up.
Yeah, just a bit. I didn't even know it was based on an anime, which is pretty funny. I mean, obviously, everything is fucking based on an anime.
I thought it was the other way around. I didn't realise it was based on it. I thought the anime came after the fact.
Well, it depends which order the actual games were released, I guess. Because, the second and third ones are also tight, they...
Yeah, apparently they're more like typical high school affair.
Yeah, as you would imagine.
Which isn't so good, but
yeah, it was weird to find that out. I was just like, well, okay, I guess that makes sense, the actual fact.
Although I've seen clips of it, and it's like actually the bits where certain events in the games cross over, like certain bits that are done in the anime that are done in the game.
Yeah.
I prefer the game's version of the cutscene, because, the polygonal renderings are pretty good.
Right, yeah. And the quality of hand-drawn shit can vary quite significantly in animes, especially.
Yeah.
Like, which team did they farm this sellout to?
Yeah. Exactly. Oh, this is the static shot mouth move team.
Yeah.
And this is we need a bit of
fancy smoke,
high action combined with CG scene team. Like 30 seconds a week, give them something.
Yeah, exactly. That's that. I can't remember anything else particularly that I played, which is weird because you'd think after all this time there would have been other things that I played. But apparently not. I guess I sort of played some Starbound-ish after the unstable version of that patch, but there's not really much to say about that. Still waiting for the stable version of that patch.
Right.
That was another podcast game. I'm just going to go and mine some resources while I listen to the podcast.
Yeah.
Listen to podcast.
So, what else do you actually have to talk about? Because we didn't really get through all of your shit.
I've been playing Counter-Strike.
Yeah.
Kipper's bought me a copy of Counter-Strike Global Offensive. CSGO.
What is Counter-Strike like these days? How is
the same as it's always been.
So how different is it from Source? Like, that was 10 years ago now. Source came out, right?
I mean, mechanically, it's the same game. Like, you still buy stuff in the same way. The guns still act in the same bizarre way they always have done.
It's particularly the same game if the only map you ever play is Dust 2.
Although that is my favourite map.
Well, yeah.
It always was.
Have they updated the graphics on that map since Source or 10 years ago?
I mean,
how many times?
Don't get me wrong. They've graphically improved it slightly. They've remodeled. It's not like the same map. In the sense that they've taken the original design completely. They've remodeled bits of it, so it looks a little different at first.
Yeah,
because they've
slightly more fancy.
They've made it look a little more realistic.
It's the same geometry, though, isn't it? Roughly.
Roughly. It's like, I think they've been rebuilt from the ground up, but they are basically the same layout. There are new maps, but I think all the old ones are there too.
But no one fucking plays them. Why does everyone fucking love Dust 2 so much?
Well, I was playing... I don't remember Mirage from the original.
I don't necessarily remember the name.
No. A bit of me thought, maybe it's like, or it's got elements that are similar to other levels, but couldn't quite remember it. I think that might be a new one.
I used to sort of like Office. That was okay.
Yeah,
Office was a weird one, though.
Office was a strange one, but could be fun because I seemed to be all right at close combat back in the day.
Well, Office was like a map that had problems with the engine because it was a lot of jumping up stuff in Office, more so than most of the other levels.
I guess
weird windows that were actually kind of difficult to get through.
I mean, the bunny hopping technique isn't such a thing anymore, at least.
Well, it never really was in Source, even really. They got rid
of it after 1.6, and it's like, which is nice. But strangely got into it because I think the thing that's getting me the reason why I'm sort of enjoying it is because the matchmaking system is pretty good. Because I joined games with Kips, I think it must be matchmaking to his skill level, which is actually he's quite good at it because he plays a shit ton of it. But it's not so far above me that I feel hideously outclassed, or we end up in teams where I can't contribute in some way.
Right. Yeah.
But at the same time, it's the competitive mode is pretty slick now. Like, it's 5-on-5 games. They best of 30 rounds essentially with a team switch halfway through, and the way all of the hardcore settings on, like, you can't view the enemy team. You can talk while you're dead still, but because you can't see the other team, it doesn't really matter. Like, and because of the radar tells you where your teammates have died, that it's just like there's no harm really in talking to your own team whilst dead, that kind of thing. It's the presentation is quite slick. If you're spectating a game, you can pull up graphs on people's money and like the various stats about the game and stuff. It's like it's well thought through from a UI standpoint and things like that. But it's ultimately the same game, and I'm kind of weirdly into it. I don't know why. What changed? Because I was never a fan, really. Not even back in the day, just not really a fan. But now I kind of like it. I think I've got better. Weirdly, I feel like I'm a lot better at shooters, or a lot better at Counter-Strike now than I ever was, which is weird given how long it's been since I've played a Counter-Strike.
I don't think I actually like the idea of that competitive mode that much. I mean, I like the idea of
it's so tense
and like the ranking and how it actually plays the teams against each other and stuff. I just don't really want to commit to 30 fucking rounds of Dust 2. That's my actual problem with that.
It does take a while. Like, most games are on average, 45 minutes to an hour, and the game does warn you, hey, this might take up to 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, we're gonna penalize you if you quit.
Yeah.
Like, badly. Like, I think you get the Kippers was telling me there's like a 2-hour ban from competitive mode if you quit the first time. The second time it's like a 24-hour ban or something.
I mean, it's not like...
And the actual game doesn't let you play any more than 2 games. Until you've got 10 wins under your belt, the game doesn't let you play more than 2 winning rounds in a 24-hour period. I think it's to stop players from resetting their stats or opening new accounts and then like just wailing on noobs.
Right. Yeah.
Basically, there's, and I'm not through that yet because I've actually only got 6 competitive wins under my belt so far, and in about 5 sessions or something. So
it's not like you can't have at least 45-minute maps in Team Fortress, but it just seems like, I guess it's because the maps in that are so, it's just like, it is like 30 rounds. It's like, it's only a minute of things happening, basically.
But I've basically played all my competitive games on Dust 2, and I don't care, because it's a great map. And it's like, I don't know, there's something about that format that is making me like the game more than I ever did. And it's, as long as I'm playing it with someone, it's no fun on your own, I don't think. Like how I find most multiplayer games, I guess. Not a lot of fun on your own. But, yeah, weirdly into it. Quite like it. Tried to convince Zach to play it, but he's done with Counter-Strike, apparently.
Yeah, 2015, the year of Counter-Strike.
Well, I forget when this one version came out. Was it 2 years ago now?
Yeah, probably.
It's back, baby.
Yeah. It's just well made. That's why I brought it up in the esports conversation earlier, because it's quite well suited in a weird way.
It's a classic, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's what they were trying to do, obviously.
Yeah, it's pretty. This is like going towards that model, and it's like it's strange in that it's like it's only like a tenner or something to buy the game, but it sort of follows the same model that Valve do with the other games, which then immediately makes me think, well, why isn't this a free to play game that you could buy gun skins for if you want?
Yeah.
You know, why isn't it a free to play game?
Because they know that like just fancy gun skins isn't enough.
No, I guess not. and in fairness to them, the skins are super cheap. Like, it's not like a TF2 hat style cost. Although I think they are starting to roll out things that do require like a DLC pass or something if you want to play in a certain playlist or something. Like they brought back Train, or is it Train or Rail Yard or whatever it is? I forget what the level's called.
Yeah.
So that they've remade that recently and brought that into the game, but I think it's behind a DLC wall. Like, and that you have to buy this pack to gain access to it or something. And it's not available in competitive for that reason. It's only in casual. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know why I was wholeheartedly expecting to hate it, but I don't. So there. And the other multiplayer thing to talk about, which is going to be miles more interesting, probably to you both, is I've been playing Halo 5.
Halo 5? When is that due out? Not for ages, right?
End of this year, I think.
Right. So they've got a beta now.
Yeah, which is it fits with their normal timing for when they run their betas. They always sort of run them somewhere between now and Easter, and then the game comes out at the end of that year. So because of that, it's clearly early. Like, the presentation definitely isn't all there yet. It's not running at a great resolution. It doesn't maintain a perfect 60 frames at all times. It's a little bit hitchy, but it is running at 60, which is, I guess, new for a full Halo game.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Keeping up with the remakes.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's it's a little glitchy in places, and I think there are things that need work. But holy cow, I think they're onto a good thing here.
Does it feel like a different game than?
It's not. It doesn't feel like Halo anymore, because they've kind of gone down they're kind of meeting the new trend of being a hypermobile, fast-paced game. So it kind of weirdly sits. It has a bit of everything in it. It has a bit of Titanfall, but you don't get the double jump. It has a bit of Call of Duty in that you can thrust. You have like a sideways dodge you can do at any time.
Okay.
Within reason, like once you use it, there's a cooldown period before you can use it again, and you can only really use it once in a fight. You can mantle, and you've got these weird. You have like a jetpack that doesn't let you double jump and but you can hover while shooting for a brief period of time if you're in the middle of the air. If you aim down your sights, your jetpack activates, and you can sort of sit there in the air for a while. Or even better, you can click the right stick to go into ground pound mode, which gives you a few seconds to line up a cursor, and then you go huzzah into the floor and go wha-bam with a really satisfying noise that will, most of the time, depending on how good your aim is, kill someone if you land on them. Other times it will just send them flying, which then creates an interesting combat scenario because you take a little while to stand back up from it. So this guy could be flying, but he could still be shooting at you, and it's you've got to try and come out of the animation, then look in the right direction and deal with it. And so it creates a sort of like, oh, actually, this fight isn't quite so clear cut as I thought it was going to be. And I thought the increased pace was going to be to the detriment of it, and it does take quite a while to get used to it. I wouldn't say a long time, but it takes a good number of games before you kind of go, this isn't Halo, but it's not. That's your phone. Is that the time limit?
That's the time. Anyway, carry on.
Oh no. Yeah, it takes a good while for you to realise this isn't Halo as I know it, but it borrows enough from Halo mechanics and from Call of Duty that it kind of feels a little fresh.
That's good. I think it was in need of a bit of freshening up in some ways.
And it just generally works. I as I said, it suffers from some of the classic problems, like the visual design at the moment very much favours the blue team in that they blend into the environment so much better than the red team do.
It's annoying.
You kind of get used to it, and your eyes eventually adjust to how to pick them out from the environment, but it's just so much easier to pick the red guys out of an entirely blue level.
When are they going to realise that red versus blue is a terrible colour scheme?
It's not a great colour scheme. But then again, TF uses it okay. But then no level is like red or blue.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like orange.
I guess the snowy levels can go to be on the blue side.
Yeah, but it's definitely more white than it is like the same colour blue.
They should.
I don't know what else you'd pick. Like,
well, the trouble with it is just because it's always been red versus blue, and because
they can't change it now,
and because it's just like that's the sort of standard color scheme of good guys and bad guys.
Yeah,
it's like it's so inbuilt, but it's still such a terrible choice.
I'd like to see you to be able to pick your preferred team color, and then so each player has a stat that there's like, I would prefer us to be on this to be this color this game.
Okay, but then everyone would choose blue.
Maybe, yeah,
because they know it's better.
Maybe
for blending in,
and then maybe it would end up being something else. Versus, I don't know. Could end up with some interesting. Occasionally, it just mixes up, and it's like today you're pink team.
You think they would have been able to somehow solve this problem just by there must be some way to analyze contrast and stuff, and say if we make this color this level of brightness or whatever versus this other one, it actually matches better versus background.
Well, maybe that's what some of this is about. They'll be analyzing the play and be like, okay, red team seems to win a significant. Either way round. You know what I mean. Blue team wins a significant number more than the red team on this level, and then investigate that.
You think this would be a kind of thing that they would have already thought of by this point in all these hundreds of games? That
but 3-4-3 have only got one game of their own under their belt at this point, and they the way Halo 4 mixed things up, I think, didn't really please many people. It was interesting, but it was too much of the middle ground. It was too much. This isn't Halo, but at the same time, it's not really a modern shooter. It was kind of awkward.
I think the next team colors clearly have to be. I'm trying to think of two colors that would actually work. It would be yellow versus pink. It's they're both really bright, but they're distinct enough that you can visually identify it quite quickly.
Or would yellow be a bit too problematic in a desert environment?
Well, yeah, okay, if there's a desert.
Halo has had deserts. Or rocky areas. Yeah, I don't know. It might have to be level specific.
I guess.
And that's not really a problem, is it? And the other thing it does at the moment that's a little disappointing that I think pretty much every Halo game before it has done is that there's an old school loading pause before the game now, rather than what has been there since Halo 2, I think, where background loads while you're still in the menus and then goes, hey, it's ready now, go. Which was always cool, and more games need to do that. And matchmaking is still pretty dodgy. But they are trying to do proper skill-based matchmaking. which I have to commend them for, but it's pretty dodgy right now. It doesn't always. Sometimes it can take a very long time for it to find something meaningful, and then the game can really wig out and do some crazy menu stuff. Like I ended up getting it stuck in strobe mode once, where everything was just sort of fading to black really fast, and then coming back at normal brightness, and then fading to black again, and just repeating really quickly. It's like, okay, why am I in strobe mode?
Mysterious.
But I think it's a really interesting thing, and it then leads on to what is I guess the obvious question here is the single player going to handle like this? And is that going to make the single player a very different game from what we've seen before?
I think the trouble with it is that, like, the game's nearly a whole year away still, assuming it's going to come out in November, I guess.
September. Some Halo games have launched in September, but yeah, I would imagine some October, November is more likely.
It's like, it seems cool now, but we've had Titanfall and Call of Duty last year. Is it going to seem old by the time it goes? How many more games are going to come out this year before it that are going to be the same?
I'm not sure there are any.
No, it doesn't seem like there are at the moment. But...
No. I don't think there will be any hypermobile shooters before this comes out. Unless UT gets somewhere.
Unless they just make Titanfall 2 based on the same engine.
Oh yeah, and just crap it out. I don't think they could. They can't rattle out Titanfall 2 that fast. They don't, because it's only them. It's only one team.
It's like Battlefield 5 isn't going to come out this year, is it?
Not that we're aware of.
It's hardline
I guess
first.
Yeah. And you know,
and that's not the same.
Yeah,
that's not hypermobile unless you count driving around in a lot of different cars and bikes. But
yeah,
it's not really the same thing.
Well, I guess the whole 2015. I really don't know what's happening 2015 at the moment. Like in terms of the gaming, nothing's really coming to mind saying, "Oh, I'm super excited about this." And it's like Splatoon, maybe. Star Fox.
That's kind of hypermobile in a Nintendo way, which is still quite slow, but compared to anything else that they've done.
Yeah, while you're on foot, anyway. Splatoon looks cool though. Maybe Star Fox if that's going to be this year. Although they've said it is, but we haven't seen anything from it.
It's supposed to be before Zelda.
Yeah, and then of course Zelda. Yeah. Yep. That's really all I know. I only really know the Nintendo space. I don't really. Did they say Street Fighter 5 was supposed to be this year? Or was it?
You would hope so.
Yeah.
Considering they've already announced it.
Supposed to be Volmov.
Yeah. But that might as well have been a last year game, really. It seems like.
Well, yeah. Kind of know everything there is to know about that game now, right? Like,
unless it's not.
Yeah.
Because at the moment it seems, to me, it seems sort of along the same lines as Titanfall, where it's like, it might be really cool, but it doesn't seem like there's very much of it.
And maybe that's why they're going so hard into the esports direction.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, I'll have to see how that one pans out. I kind of want to have faith in the Left 4 Dead team, the original Left 4 Dead, because what they created in Left 4 Dead was something pretty special at that moment in time.
Yeah, big fan of
that.
So
I kind of like to... Yeah, I kind of like to think that they could do that again, but I'm not convinced by what I've seen thus far. Where's Batman?
Yeah, I really hope that's good. I don't think it can't be as good as the first Batman game. That game was just too good to follow up, really. But
yeah, Arkham Asylum is just a nice, compact, perfectly scoped game.
Exactly, yeah.
And the second one got a bit out of hand, if you ask me.
Tiny bit, and I think they made some dodgy choices in the second one as well, sort of. But hopefully this will make good on those, but I still don't think it has much chance of beating that first one. But at least it will beat whatever other team chat out. What was it? Arkham Origins, or so I'm sure it'll be good.
That's Origins isn't a bad game. It's just more of the second.
Yeah,
from what everyone says, and I think Eddie has been playing through that recently, so I mean, get a bit more info out of him. But
it looks really good, the new one, like graphically. I mean, everyone seems a bit apprehensive about the Batmobile stuff. I kind of agree. It doesn't seem very Batman-y.
No.
Driving around in a tank. That doesn't seem very Batman. But,
not very sleek, does it? Not very.
we'll see how that
It's
actually
not
pans
stealthy.
out. No.
Suppose it's Uncharted 4.
Yeah. That do you see the gameplay demo of that? That looked pretty.
Yeah.
I have to
Pretty
say that
cool.
looked great. The AI stuff on that looked really fun, and the stealth stuff. Speaking of stealth stuff, I've been playing Alien.
Oh, you've actually been playing it for real this time?
Yeah, I bought it in the sale.
Oh, okay, cool.
In the Steam sale, so I've been playing that. Yeah, it's good. It's hard. Well, it had one of those nagging difficulty select screens. You know how games do that? Right? It's like it has a little description next to the thing. It says like hard mode. Well, it's gonna kill you. This is how it's meant to be played. I always hate that. It's annoying. So I picked the one that
play it like this, you pussy.
Yeah, so I did. I was like, oh, fine. So I stuck it on hard mode. As soon as the alien turned up, I was like, wow. Like, I had to go and look up what the differences and the difficulties are, and it's like, you know, its vision cone is much wider, and it can hear smaller things, and it's just much more acute senses, basically. So it can just kill you much, much more easily.
That must be really annoying if you move from normal to hard mode, but I guess that's the only way they could improve the difficulty, right?
Yeah.
Increases it, like...
I can see what they mean, like, it's the way it's meant to be played, in that the alien is meant to be terrifying and...
Badass,
and badass as hell. But that first encounter with the proper encounter with the alien... Well, the first thing you have to do with the proper encounter with the alien is you have to sneak... It's an area that's not very big, with like circular corridors and stuff where the alien can like freely move around, and you have to go up and punch a code into a door and open it and go through it, right? And the first time I did it, I managed to, because I got the motion tracker at that point, I waited until it fucked off, basically, and was off my scope, walked up to the door, punched the code in, started moving through, all while totally crouched, and it just ran up behind me and killed me the moment I moved through the door. I was like, did it hear the door open? I mean, the only way I can get through is to punch in the code here. Yeah. And so I was thinking, and at that point I'd been playing for a couple of hours and stuff, and I was like, well, fuck this for now. And I came back to it, and it wasn't so bad. I mean, I think I was just really unlucky that first time.
Yeah, I think that's what I think I would find super annoying about that game. It's like when you think you're good, but you're not.
But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You're never safe, pretty much, when that thing's around. But it is good, because it is scary. And the scariest thing is the sound of it running up behind you. Because you can hear it moving, its footsteps quite relatively loudly. So I reckon if you had surround sound, it would be a big help to figuring out where the alien is, because you have the motion tracker.
Oh, yeah.
I think that just the sound would be pretty damn good. Because the thing with the motion tracker, on hard mode, like, the alien can hear the motion tracker, so you can't use it when it's nearby, really. I managed to figure out that... So, most of the time, if it sees you, you're dead. But actually, even on hard, there are circumstances where you actually can escape, which is kind of cool. So you do have a chance. So, like, if it sees you from down the end of a corridor, like quite a long corridor, which is quite likely if there are long corridors and you've waited for it to disappear off your motion tracker and then you're moving, but then it appears at the end of the corridor, which is where it would be if it was out of your motion detector range, right? But if it sees you at the end, it kind of makes a hissing sound, so you can tell it's seen you. And then if you peg it for a hiding place and manage to shut yourself inside a locker, you can actually escape. Yeah. It'll come up to the locker and then it will be confused and then wander off. And then even when it comes to like sniff the locker, there's like a little mini game. I mean, the main thing is you want to lean backwards, like by hitting the back key all the time you're in a locker, because one thing, you lean back basically, which makes it harder to detect you. Also, it means you can see the whole of the motion tracker when you're inside the locker if you lean back, which you otherwise can't. But it can hear the motion tracker if you're using it when you're in a locker and it's nearby. So
oh, really? Huh.
Yeah. So that's what killed Ho when I was watching her play. She was like, "Well, why did it kill me? I was hiding." It's like, well, it can hear the beeping of the thing if you're trying to use it. So it's okay though, because I mean, if it's beeping really, really quickly, you might as well put it away, because it's just in the room. So You might as well just listen for it at that point. But yeah.
I think that game would wind me up something rotten. But
it's cool. I mean, the alien itself is really cool.
Definitely.
It's huge. And the way it moves through environments is really good, and it is scary when it moves past you. I think one thing I would change is actually, I think the death sequences are a bit too long. I think it got a bit carried away with the animation there. I think it's good enough to have really good animation of it moving around the levels and watching it, in a dynamic environment. I think by the time you are definitely dead, you might as well have it last like a second. I think it'd be scary if it just went to black, after it.
A bit like some of these the YouTube jump scare games where it's just like bah!
Yeah, pretty much. That's how it is in the original Alien film. There's just a shot where it sort of opens its arms and and that's all you get, like a second of it going, and then that guy's obviously dead, right? I think that would be better because I don't really like I prefer the death animations when it gets you from behind and it just sort of stabs you or whatever.
And you're
the
looking down and seeing the spike come through slowly.
Yeah, that's better. But
that was quite a long one, though.
Yeah, they're a bit too long anyway. But I mean, when you can see its face, it becomes a bit less scary because I think the teeth are a little bit too silvery or something. It doesn't look scary enough. And you're going to see that a lot if you're playing in hard mode because it's going to kill you all the time. So I think it'd be better if they were just shorter. Yeah. But yeah, so...
Yeah, or at least give you the ability to sort of just press a button to end the sequence and say, just get to a menu or something.
Well, I guess so. They're not that long. But,
no, but it wouldn't be perhaps they look quite cool as they are, but at the same time just press a button to okay, I'm dead, fine, I just want to get back to trying again. Please.
Yeah. So yeah, it's going okay. I shall report back with further progress.
It's actually the thing I quite liked about Transistor, because it's I guess nothing to load most of the time. If you do want to go back to the checkpoint, you just go to the menu, quickly hit retry, and you're there in an instant. It's fine, I want to do that again. I can't accept this overload. Do it now.
Making the overload system all the more with us.
Yeah. In fairness, I did put up with it on a couple of occasions.
Well, yeah,
it was just this is fine. And then there were a few moments where it's no, I'm going to fucking... there's a section towards the end where it's actually there's a spell where there isn't a checkpoint for a while.
Really, and it's the biggest... well, not really the biggest problem. One of the biggest problems with it is that there should be a way for it to detect if the only skill you have left doesn't actually do any damage, like jump, for example.
Yeah, yep, you're fucked. Sorry. I never actually died. I never let it get to that.
Yeah.
State. I don't know. I haven't seen what happens.
Not anything interesting.
No. But from my understanding of the story, that sort of breaks the story a little. It's well, but what if I didn't? But I suppose it's the same with any story.
Well,
yeah.
You're
always supposed to succeed. Any more in Podcast Town? Or should we actually listen to that buzzer that went off 20 minutes ago?
Yeah, I think it might be about that time. Thanks for joining us, listeners. Check out our YouTube channel for a nice video of these guys playing Transistor, our half game of the year 2014. If only we need to get some kind of capture thing so we can complete the other half. There's got to be a way. Anyway,
not for a Wii.
Well, the Wii's HDMI, so an Elgato will do the job. I guess
now it is.
Yeah,
not the old Wii.
Oh, yeah, no, the Wii. Yeah, not the old
Wii U.
The Wii U we can do stuff.
The Wii U,
with,
yeah.
Once if I get a capture card, but
but for the time being, check out.
I have to keep my shopping list to a minimum, being all wedding focused and shit.
I was watching you guys playing Worms United the other day as well. That was fun. Check out
one of our most popular videos for some reason.
Check it out. Really popular and awesome.
Don't know why it is, but never mind.
Yep. So stay tuned to that channel and to the Salad in general for updates. And we'll be back with another podcast in a couple of weeks.
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye. Say goodbye. Are we getting anything out of you, Zach?
No.